because yours wear hats.
And we're hitting it now. All right. We're live, guys. Hey, Jen. Oh, here. Let me share the StreamYard link again in case it got lost in the mix. All right. Take your time, Parker. Look, for chat, I brought Rosie with her little Santa hat today.
Most adorable thing ever. Sorry, but that is so cute.
Did you see my community post where she was watching the Jon Benet thing with me, and her eyes were like, she looked like she was like traumatized. Poor thing.
Sarah, I'm glad you made it home there, Dollface. 7 hours.
Yeah. Sarah finally made it back.
Thing. Am I delayed, or is it you guys, or is it Kate?
I don't know.
I don't hear a delay.
You don't sound delayed.
Okay. Thank you.
You sound
I had one for just a second, but it's gone now.
Hold on.
How are you, that girl?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Is everyone ready for the holidays?
No, not quite. I have a painting I need to finish, but I at least finished all my shopping a few weeks ago, so I'm lucky.
Hey, girl.
Hey, little bitch. What are you guys doing?
Yay.
Who's all in here? We got a lot of people in here?
Yeah. I was just saying, I'm going
to... I'm so sorry. I thought it was just us. I won't curse up here. I'm sorry.
No, the stream just started a minute ago, girl.
Oh, my God. We're live right now?
Yes.
I thought we were backstage.
You can curse. I curse all the time. I don't care. I didn't realize.
I thought we were backstage.
Realize it was
like
it's showtime. I didn't even realize it said it's showtime, and then I looked up and I was like, "Oh shoot, time!" Hey, resting Grinch face. I love that name. Josh, no.
Josh,
oh my goodness.
5 Klinger.
Josh keeps trying to come up, Queen. No. No.
Oh no, Josh, we're not doing that today, honey.
No doubt.
Even Tilly said, "Not today, baby."
I don't know what you're saying. Look, watch from chat, Josh. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna kick you, bud. Oh, Pamela. I love that name. It's so cute. Yeah, I'm totally not ready for Christmas. Hey Melissa. I should be able to fit 10 up here, so should let me have a cig and then I'll be up. All right, girl. So yeah, chat, I was just going to say there's going to be a lot of us up here. And usually when that happens, we're all going to be talking all over each other. We'll try to do the best we can, but I know it'll be coming, so.
So who all has been kind of cramming and refreshing on case details?
Oh, right.
Hello, everyone.
Hey,
hello.
I feel like I said that like Mrs. Doubtfire. Why did that come out like Mrs.
birthday again?
Yes, happy belated birthday. I just noticed that you guys have seen your stream, and I was like, oh my God, I missed it yesterday. Was it yesterday, right?
Yes.
Oh,
dang
happy
it,
birthday.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Thank you so much. How is everyone? Everyone ready for Christmas? No, yes.
No.
Let's just not even, I was going to say, I just got in trouble. I just got in a lot of trouble for dropping.
Oh my God, my internet keeps cutting out.
Got yelled at.
Great deal.
That's all right.
Ouch.
Yeah, I spent way more than I wanted to spend. I'm like broke.
Well, that's because all the prices went up so damn much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, does anyone else have kids who you ask them for months, like, what do you want? What do you want? Let me know now. And then they can't think of anything until the week before Christmas. And it's like, oh, here's a list of 100 things that I thought about.
Yeah, my stepson did that pretty much. He was like, yeah, here's my Christmas list. I'm like, the 17th. We're like, bro.
When I was a kid, I started my list in like September.
Yeah, well, I try and start shop. See, my son goes in Amazon and just hearts everything he likes, like all year long. So I just have a list of like hearted toys that he likes. So luckily I try and start in like September so that way I can like, get things going. But
space it out, yeah. When I was a kid, they had those catalogs. The Toys R Us catalog would start coming around Thanksgiving, and I'd sit there with my marker and circle it up. Like, I was quick with my list.
Same. Why do I hear?
That's my phone ringing. Sorry.
Okay. I was like,
I was trying to get it quickly.
Okay, I don't know what's going on with my internet, but Queen said she wasn't going to curse. I'm going to cuss like a mother trucker in a minute if I get
You
booted
can
one
curse
more time.
all you
I'm
want,
losing
girl.
my crap over here. I'm so sorry.
I was
I just
wondering.
wasn't ready. I thought it was just us girls backstage. I was like, what's
I am
that bitch
so
is?
sorry.
We were live already. Like, oh shit.
Here, I can fit 10 people on here, so let's hope it doesn't like slow us down, but we'll try it.
We're gonna start calling you Queen Hot Mic.
Queen.
Well, you might as well.
All the hot mic moments. Kate, sometimes if you have a lot of people, if the stream slows, if you will go off camera, it will help
Oh,
if you
I can
end
do that.
video. But I think it's doing fine now, but in the future, like if a bunch of people are on camera, it'll slow it down more. Just saying.
Okay. Yeah, if it gets slow, I'll hop off camera. That's fine. I just want to wait. Parker's about to come up. And then
If you guys hear my dog snoring, just ignore him. Ignore him. He finds true crime really lame, I guess.
Not Rosie. She's terrified. Let me pull it up real quick. She was sitting there watching it with me. Her eyes were all big, like, oh shit, hold on. I've never had a second row. We lost Tia again. Hold on.
Whoa.
Now,
Will the other one go off?
2 Tios.
Yeah, we have 2.
All right, hold on.
Oh,
That's her new one.
Oh, I just got promoted to the second row.
Welcome,
who's all up here with us?
Hey, guys.
Who's all up? I see Parker and Melissa.
Parker, Melissa, Tia from Decipher, LT from Decipher, that girl, Jen Sharp.
All the bestest
Jen Lou's
with the
coming up.
bestest. All right, chicks, let's roll.
Oh my gosh, this is gonna be like tic-tac-toe.
Oh my
Hold on, let me show this real
god.
quick.
Connection issues suck.
Hopefully, I think I can share my screen real quick. Look at her.
I saw that. That's hilarious.
Her face was like, what the hell are we watching, lady?
She is side-eyeing the hell out of
All
you.
these hot mamas on panel. Hell yeah. It's like the Brady Bunch up there. Wait, did I let... Sorry, Parker. Did you hop off too?
No, I accidentally kicked myself off.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
Because I was trying to get my camera going, but it won't work. So I guess you're just not going to get to see my beautiful face.
Hey, Lori.
I might have to pull it off.
Oh
too
gosh,
if it
I
gets
can't
too...
even see the chat. Oh, and I'm not even sorry. I'm talking to myself, thinking I was muted. Sorry, y'all. I was like, I can't. I'm not.
Let me turn my phone off.
Oh,
all right, good. Well, I guess I'll do like I'm sure everybody knows this case, but I can do like a little. Oh, there's Jen Lou. Hey, Jen.
Aw.
Hey.
There you are.
Wait. First, hold on 1 second. Melissa Jade, happy day after birthday.
Happy birthday.
It's the 20th. I did not forget that. She's MIA.
Oh my god, there's a lot of people that had birthdays yesterday now that I'm thinking about it. Good lord.
Yeah, there was. Like,
I missed everything.
There was a ton of people here. All right, Tia, whenever hopefully it's not. Is that who we lost, Tia?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
All right, Tia, well.
Ooh, I got promoted again to the middle. Sorry.
Oh, and we lost Jen too. Hopefully it's
No, I lost my place. Now I'm in the third row.
Ooh, I feel all weird up here in the middle. Oh lord.
Oh gosh, this is like Survivor. We move up. This is so fun.
All right, so picture it, Boulder, Colorado, 1996.
Yes, Doug, yes.
There we go. Picture it, Boulder, Colorado, 1996.
Ellie's Wolfie.
Oh
Yes, I know.
my.
Unfortunately, Melissa Jade shares a birthday with other creators, so
I also share a birthday with my friend's dog, and I prefer that.
yes.
It sucks having birthdays, and although I love being a sad,
We're only acknowledging Melissa's that day.
whenever you have a birthday close to Christmas, you always get like like, oh well, here's like a present for both, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I hated it. Well, luckily mine's kind of like far away where it's not too close, but people who did that ever happen to you, Melissa, where you get like a double presents, like, oh, here's a present for your birthday and Christmas? It's Boston Nick's birthday today. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Oh, is he here?
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday.
All right. So oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh wait, I saw him in chat a second ago. Are you gonna do like a recap? Is that what you were about to do?
Yeah, I'm gonna do like a little recap and then we can start talking about it. I made a video, but like I messed up on the one part because I put the wrong picture of the wrong room. But whatever, I can play it.
I studied this afternoon and had to rewatch a few things to.
I watched the one. Did you see the one where all those investigators and stuff? They all
the one from
go
2019.
Yeah, and
the
they
one,
go
the
to,
one
like,
on
university.
Hulu. Yeah, that's the one
Yes.
I just watched. That's the one.
Yes,
I
that's
just
a good
rewatched
one.
that. That was pretty good.
That was a really good.
Hey, Jonesin, how you feeling? You're driving? Okay.
Did y'all watch the Burke interview again?
No.
I watched a part of it, and I watched the behavioral panel's take on it.
I watched that too.
Yep.
I
didn't even
can't
think about
watch
the
Burke on Dr. It's Dr. Phil that I can't watch. I don't like Burke. Burke, I don't like. That's not my issue. It's I can't handle Dr. Phil. He's too much for me.
What? Send her to the ranch.
No, I don't want to know. Listen. Dr. Phil, I can't with him. First of all, no, I just can't. I just can't with him. Sometimes he needs to be quiet and let the person talk. That's my problem. I just think he talks too much.
Oh, like he tries to lead too much.
Yes, and sometimes when you're trying to understand, like, look, nobody heard from him all those years ago. Everybody knew he was in the house, but he was immediately whisked away. Immediately, like even before the cops got there. So, like, nobody had heard from him, and then Dr. Phil gets this interview, and he's just, I can't.
Wait,
I'm still
Burke whisked away before the cops got there?
He was. He was.
He recalls being in the room when they were coming in and checking.
Yeah, he was still there when the cops got there, but they did kind of keep him under lock and key for many years after too. They kept that child pretty well.
They did.
Public.
Yeah.
Right, but like the day he was there when the cops got there, but then they sent him to one of a family or a neighbor or something like that. I remember them talking about Burke staying with somebody else. I mean, like they got him kind of out of the house fairly quickly.
I don't remember that, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. I just remember him saying that he remembered when they came into his room.
Flashlights,
pretended to sleep.
Yeah,
pretended to sleep.
So, was there anything in that interview that was like did it?
He just is. I think he is, from what I understand too, because there was one later or something I listened to today too. It was from just a few years ago, but they were saying that his personality, that he's been like that ever since. Like, he has a great job, I think, in IT kind of stuff, but he does it remotely. Like, he doesn't even go into the office. Like, he's very. So I don't know if it's just kind of his personality or if it's, this happened when he was 9.
Seems like he's got a nervous laugh. He giggles, like not giggles, but he like laughs when he's very uncomfortable and very nervous. You know what I mean?
So how many people?
The Dr. Phil interview?
Yeah. How many people think he did it? Anyone?
I think it was someone within the house. I think it's possible, but I don't account his smiling or how, because people are like, he's smiling about this. Listen, I smile and I get very uncomfortable and nervous too.
Right.
And he's been isolated. He's been secluded his entire life. You know, it's like a 20 plus years sit down. Like, I don't equate.
Well, he's been
smiling.
accused. I mean, his whole family's been accused of it for the last 20 years too. So you got to think he's been on guard, you know?
Right.
True.
And so I think it's just being socially awkward and uncomfortable.
Kate, you should do the recap. What if somebody doesn't
He's very
know?
smart. He's like very intelligent, and I don't think he knows what to do with those emotions. You know what I mean? Like other than just kind of with the nervous laugh, like
It's been hinted that he's autistic, but I don't know that that's the case.
Right.
I can play my little video I made. It's like super short, but it's like it gives like the general
idea.
Yeah, play it, Kate. It takes a lot of work to make a video. I don't even care if it's 30 seconds. Play that shit.
Yeah.
The only thing that, let me just say ahead of time, I shared the train room where that supposedly the guy went out the window rather than the wine cellar, because I didn't realize they were separate rooms. I thought it was just like all in that back part of the basement, like through the door.
Yeah, there were no separate rooms.
Yeah. So
well, sometimes it be like that, Kate.
And also,
yeah. I'm going to do a live later roasting that wrong picture, just saying.
And also, I didn't know that they didn't partake in their in the tours that year. Like, I thought they did the tours that year for
the Christmas tour.
Yeah, someone said they didn't do the tours that year.
Yeah, they
or
did.
Actually, it was
yeah, they did. Yeah,
they
did.
Yeah,
they did,
Yeah,
and they had
that
that
was
weird
an issue.
Santa. That was
I thought it was
Yes,
too.
the Santa. I watched the interviews with him too. I know exactly who.
Santa was a bit sketch.
He was kind of sketch, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a bit sketch. You know,
all Santas are sketch. Who wants a million
the vial of
kids sitting on their
sparkles,
lap?
Okay, I have 60 Santas collected for Christmas. That girl. That's girl. But I am creepy, so I rest your case.
I'll have what she's
Parker's
having,
already
please.
started.
All right, here I go. This is the case of Jon Benet Ramsey on the day after Christmas in Boulder, Colorado. On December 26, 1996, at 5:52 a.m., Patsy Ramsey calls 911. I'm not going to make it full screen because it'll probably mess up because there's so many people up here.
911 emergency. Police. What's going on? 15th Street. What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay? There's a note left and our daughter's gone.
A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old.
How long ago was it?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says FBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you
Kathy Ramsey, I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been gone?
No, I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please.
Okay, well,
Please, somebody.
I am, honey.
Please.
Take a deep breath,
Please,
okay?
hurry.
Patsy. Her daughter, Jon Benet, is missing from their home. She realized this after finding a ransom note. The ransom note read, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals who represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed. If you want her to see 1997, you must follow the instructions of the letter. You withdraw $118,000 from your account. It will be in $100 bills and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring in adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you. I think I totally said that wrong. Tomorrow.
No, you said attaché correctly. It's weird that they use the word attaché. So I thought I was muted. I'm sorry. It's just weird that they
We
use
monitor
the word
you getting the money
attention.
early. We might. It is a strange word to use. I was like, why would they say that?
It's really
Only
bougie
rich
for
people
I
use
thought
that
mine
fancy
too.
word.
it's really
is
bougie for a
But
ransom
Patsy
note.
also took like what journalism in college and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Will you
Attaché.
back it up a
Attaché.
tiny bit?
An
Yeah,
earlier
back it up
delivery
for
of the
my
money and
talking
hence
over and rudeness, please.
Get back
so
to
I
the
advise you to be
attaché.
aggressive. If
It
we
was
monitor
funny.
you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier delivery pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory, SBTC. Two police officers arrive on the scene within 3 minutes of the 911 call. Officers search the home, but one officer stops at a locked cellar door with a wood latch. He says he was looking for a spot that an intruder could exit, and it wouldn't have been there because the latch on the outside of the door. More law enforcement and family that was called begin to arrive, and police inspect Jon Benet's room for clues because they believe at this time that she was kidnapped. Only Jon Benet's room was closed off to prevent contamination, and as family began to arrive and console the Ramseys, they walked throughout the house and they started to clean and wipe surfaces in the kitchen, destroying most of the evidence left behind as they anxiously awaited the kidnappers' next instructions. While waiting, Detective Linda Arndt instructs John Ramsey and a friend to search the home again to see if anything seemed amiss. They first began their search in the basement, and they checked behind the latch door when they immediately found Jon Benet. Jon Benet was found bludgeoned to death in this room. Her mouth was covered with duct tape. A nylon cord was found around her wrists and neck, and her torso was covered by a white blanket. John picked up the child's body and took it upstairs. When Jon Benet was moved, the crime scene was further contaminated and critical forensic evidence was disturbed for the returning forensics team. The autopsy revealed that Jon Benet had been killed by strangulation and a skull fracture. The official cause of death was asphyxia by strangulation associated with craniocerebral trauma. There was no evidence of conventional RAPE, although SA could not be ruled out. Although no semen was found, there was evidence there had been a vaginal injury. At the time of the autopsy, the pathologist recorded that it appeared her vaginal area had been wiped with a cloth. Her death was ruled a homicide. A garrote that was made from a length of nylon cord and the broken handle of a paintbrush was tied around Jon Benet's neck and had apparently been used to strangle her. Part of the bristle end of the paintbrush was found in a tub containing Patsy's art supplies, but the bottom third of it was never found despite extensive searching of the house by the police in the subsequent days. The autopsy revealed a vegetable or fruit material which may represent pineapple, which Jon Benet had eaten a few hours before her death. Photographs of the home taken on the day when Jon Benet's body was found show a bowl of pineapple on the kitchen table with a spoon in it. However, neither John nor Patsy said they remembered putting the bowl on the table or feeding pineapple to Jon Benet. Police reported that they found Jon Benet's 9-year-old brother, Burke Ramsey's fingerprints on the bowl. The Ramseys always said that Burke slept through the entire night until he was awakened several hours after the police arrived. Jon Benet's killer has never been found, but there has been many theories. Some believe it was an intruder because there was a person or two who had access to the Ramsey home, and also because Patsy Ramsey used to give tours of her home for their Christmas decorations, and people believe somebody left the window latch open or something of that nature. Also, a lot of people believe that the killer could be from her own family and inside the home. The ransom note contained the specific amount that they asked for was, I believe, the amount of John Ramsey's Christmas bonus. There was also some movie quotes that he liked that were in the ransom note and other things of that nature. There we go. How was it? I tried to sound intimidating when I read the note, but
I did a great job. A fact. I was just looking up to see about the Christmas tour since that was kind of up for debate at first. And the only thing I'm actually finding right now is that they had their annual Christmas party, which we kind of, I think, already knew, but I'm not seeing that they did a home tour that year or didn't. I'm only finding that right now.
I'm like 99% positive they did because they talked about it. It was a factor, how many people coming in and out of the house, how many people were familiar with the house, who did. It was like a big thing. They were very upstanding in the community. They had the Christmas tree in every single room. It was like a huge thing for them. And they had the house all set up for the Christmas tour. So I don't see why they wouldn't have had it.
Yeah, that was another thing, is they were talking about how many people were in the house and how contaminated the scene was going to be. You know what I mean? Like, and because they invited people over, just like with the Idaho case, they immediately called people to come over to their house.
Yes, correct.
See, now I'm
so like the neighbors were there, friends of hers were there, Patsy's friend was there.
It was contaminated.
All were there, you know what I mean? But I'll tell you what, when I watched this show, the detective that she's a female. She's like, when he found her and brought her upstairs, the minute we looked eye to eye, I knew I was eye to eye, face to face with the killer. Talking about her dad.
She mentally was counting the bullets because she believed that not all of them were walking out of there alive. Her interview was so chilling and really changed my whole perspective on the case.
See, I didn't like her. I thought she was just kind of
I really did like her. I thought her eyes bugged me out a little bit, but you can't judge it off of that.
Maybe
like,
that was it.
Like I believed her. She gave very chilling testimony, and I do believe that they had no resources. There was nobody on call. They didn't know the gravity of the situation. So listening to her recount how the house, like how the movements were in the house that day, were really like, there's nobody else who could give us that knowledge besides her.
Yeah, but that's interesting that she said that she felt like she was faced eye to eye with the killer, given the fact that she is the one that told him to go looking unsupervised.
But he went straight down. So she's like, everybody it was chaos. Friends were over, people were doing prayer circle with Patsy, and she needed to give them something to do. So she says, okay, check the house top to bottom and try to look anything for a miss, try to look anything that's missing. And he immediately went right down. You would think you'd start at the very top, but he went straight down, all the way downstairs, all the way into the basement, all the way into like the little wine cellar area, and came right up with her.
That one detective said that they were supposed to keep an eye on him, but like he kind of just took off
but he had his friend with him, his neighbor, like the other guy went with him. And
the neighbor was with him.
And he picked her up before he even turned the light on. His friend turned the light on. So he was picking up her body before he could even see she was there.
Yeah. And all that evidence.
So said he could tell it was her when he opened the door.
She was in a blanket.
In one of the interviews. I'm just saying, he did say there was a white sheet or a white blanket of some kind, but that's what he said.
But I just have like the feeling maybe he did know. It's his daughter, you know what I mean? And she's the only one missing. So if there's a child down there, you know what I mean? If there's somebody in there, your first thought is, it's my kid, the one like missing. I don't know.
But then she also said how the time that the people were supposed to be calling, came and passed, and neither John nor Patsy ever mentioned it. You would think if these kidnappers say, hey, I'm calling between this time, that when that time passes, it's like, what's going on? Why didn't they call? What do? They didn't mention anything. John's checking his mail, which I know some people are like, well, that's not strange. He could be checking his mail because maybe they left a note or something in there, which, okay. But they said the time came and passed and nobody said a thing.
So who does everyone think did it? Because I honestly, I don't really have like a set suspect, but I think, all right, if Burke did it, I think maybe he hit her over the head and then the parent. But the other thing is, I just can't see parent, like, all right, if your kid hit your daughter over the head with something, wouldn't you just go to the hospital and be like,
That was
it was
a
an
really,
accident?
really hardcore skull fracture for a 9-year-old to have done it.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys remember the A&E did a special, I think in like what, 2015 or 16?
I was just going to say with the retired detective, huh?
Yeah, and with Henry Lee, which, I'd be loving me some Dr. Henry Lee because he's excellent at
he's the guy
blood.
I talked about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's the one that, go ahead.
Yeah, and he did talk about what the amount of force that it would take to inflict that kind of injury, but he also said that if that flashlight that was on the counter was the thing that was used, it is heavy enough
with it's like a police flashlight, like that's
They even had a little kid do it. I think.
They reenacted it.
They reenacted
it. Yeah, they did.
So,
but the pineapple, the undigested pineapple in her stomach is what really fucked with me.
Right.
And when they came up with the theory about what it was that may have caused him to do that, it was over the trains.
Right.
That that he had got this train set for Christmas or whatever, and he had put it together, and Jon Benet wanted to play with it, and she messed up some part of it. Either he was done putting it together or still putting it together, and now it's because it's been a long time. I can't remember. But
Isn't
anyway,
that what he admitted to waking up to in the middle of the night to do? Like he wanted to, do something. Like he wanted to put together a toy that was like on his mind. So he like got up in the middle of the night. I think he said that on Dr. Phil that he remembered.
I would say let's play Dr. Phil, but he loves to copyright claim. So don't.
For those of you who feel this way, I have to ask, because for me, I just can't get past. I know that there's a random contact DNA suspicion and stuff, but on the DNA that is directly linked to saliva that was on her underwear, I can't get past that, and it matched nobody in the house. And so I'm going to say for that reason alone, I'm really excluding Burke because of that. I'm sorry, what did you say?
They showed transfer DNA that they took underwears that are made in these factories, the same factories that made those underwears, and she wasn't wearing her underwears. She was wearing way too big of underwears, and they assumed it was for John's older daughter. Why she was wearing those underwears, we don't know. But the people handling those underwear in those factories,
what you're talking about,
transfer DNA happens.
I know what you're talking about, and I will gather that much for the other random DNA found on her, but not to the DNA that was connected to saliva that was only on her underwear. I'm not buying that.
There's also
nor did the detectives that ran the case.
Right, and to that girl's point, they've now said that there were fibers from the outfit that Jon Benet was wearing inside of that suitcase that was underneath the window.
There was a blanket in there. There's a blanket in there too. Like they wondered if they thought that they were going to get her out, like transport her out of that the house in that suitcase. But I guess the suitcase didn't fit through the window or something.
Or maybe they
what it was.
I don't remember if it couldn't fit or what, because it's been a minute and I didn't watch it all the way through. To be honest, I fell asleep. I'm sorry. I had a lot going on and I freaking fell asleep. So yeah, I know. But yeah, like in my opinion, I think that at this point in time, they've ruled out somebody in that home. It's very difficult for me to point the finger at somebody in that home because I feel like there would be evidence on her from
I
somebody
agree.
feel
else
like
in
there
that
is.
home.
I feel like the lack of evidence is evidence in itself. I absolutely believe somebody in that house at least knew of what happened and participated in a cover up. That ransom note was written on their pad, and there was practice notes.
And they put the pen back in the cup.
Yeah.
And they found the practice notes
And
in
they
the
found the
trash.
practice notes. Who feels comfortable enough? And they didn't have anything they used. The garrote was used with items within the home, meaning this person walked in with nothing. And who
That's
was
not true.
comfortable enough?
The rope, the nylon is from somewhere else. It never matched anything in that house. That's
And the duct tape didn't match the duct tape in the house either. And they didn't find the third part
The
of the
only
garage.
thing that I remember for sure was just the paintbrush.
It was the paintbrush, Patsy's paintbrush, and
and
either
then
way,
the paper that was used for the ransom note and the
was theirs, and
paintbrush.
but who had the comfort to sit there and because you'd think you'd bring that note with you, right? They sat there, wrote that long. How did they know exactly that was going to be the amount that John received?
That's the
as a
amount
Christmas bonus.
He got. That was his bonus the last
year
prior, the year before.
And it was using terms from the movie that John had just seen. It just came out in the theater that year. I forgot what name.
Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry. Yeah, like and the 911 call. Have you heard like where Patsy believes to have hung up, and then you hear them whispering. You hear a third voice. There shouldn't have been anyone. Yeah, what did you do? There's a third voice that can be there.
Though I listened to that, and some of the stuff people are saying they hear in the 911 call, like Burke in the background, I don't hear.
I hear another voice. I can't attribute it to
him. Yeah, I don't hear Burke like everybody's trying to say it is.
But the whole vibe.
I tried, man.
Her energy changed. She went from a panic to talking once she believed she hung up that phone.
Yeah.
I would have to hear that
Have you guys
again.
heard about that guy who lived across the street in the basement of like the old people's house?
Yeah.
And he was like obsessed with Jon Benet, and his wife said that she believes that he could have done it. I forget his name though.
There was that guy, and then there was that Michael somebody, and he ended up
Glenn Meyer. That was the guy.
One
he
solved
took his own
mystery
life.
is correct. About the movie Dirty Harry was old. Speed had been out, but I think part of it was from Speed, and Ransom was actually in theaters. It wasn't mainly from. They were able to pull a few things from pop culture from that note for sure. The "Don't Get Smart" or whatever, that was definitely from a movie.
I think the "Don't Attempt to Grow a Brain" was from Ransom.
That's what I meant. That's
Well,
what I
the
meant.
weird thing is,
But I'm agreeing with you. I didn't mean it like to be.
they had a bunch of
I
movie
remember the
posters in
words,
their
I
house.
couldn't. Yeah, you remembered the movie, the words, and I couldn't. I was.
That's my
You knew what I
stupid
meant,
human
yes.
trick is remembering lines from movie and music
Yeah.
lyrics. That's my stupid human trick.
I don't know, guys. I can't get over the DNA, especially since they've done more extensive testing.
I was about to say, I think I'm the opposite than all y'all at the moment on panel, because I don't think it's someone in the house.
Yeah,
I don't either.
I go back and forth. I don't know, because I thought the spider web thing was a pretty, like, that's a small window, and for that spider web to be like undisturbed.
And then the
pretty
boot
crazy,
print
too.
matched the guy that was around the corner. He lived there, and he was an older, like in his 20s, I think, living at home. And they looked into him, but it was within 2 months of Jon Benet's murder that he unalived himself. But the boot print, the high life or high whatever kind it was, matched
That none of them owned. Yeah.
that matched one of his. And the same size. Yeah.
So Michael Helgoth was found dead with an SBTC hat, stun gun, high-tech boots. He died one day after the BPD announced the suspect list was closing to just one person.
Can I ask y'all, do y'all know if that, because I kind of feel like some of the stuff that Melissa Jade brought up could be explained if it was somebody who was used to being around the house or they knew. Had it ever been determined if that person had been at the house before? Because I won't lie and say I remember
I want to say there is something that he did have a connection or had been either part of a yard crew or
some kind of maintenance.
so,
or
there's
something.
but I'm willing to say that like 89% confident that there was something, but the guy's family doesn't think that he did it, but they couldn't account for certain things in terms of
Well, and how could they possibly know when people don't know when people are monsters most of the time?
Yeah.
No, that's why they have a whole show called Evil Lives Here. It's all about people who lived with unalivers, and there were some red flags, but they didn't know that this was what they were going to end up being. They knew they were not nice people, not good people, but there's a difference between being an asshole and being a murderer. A huge difference. Of course,
definitely.
You know what I mean? And so, that's why there's that whole show.
The thing that creeps me out the worst about it is thinking, though, that if we go with the intruder or, an outsider theory, there's a definite chance that person had been in that house for a while, like while they went to the neighbor's party or to the other neighbor's party.
Yes, been waiting. Yes.
Yeah, and he knew. Yeah.
You're right.
I think what
that
people
just kind of that gets me. Just thinking of someone hiding.
Well, see, I think what people didn't. I
God,
think
that's
we
creepy.
knew it back then in 1996, but we know it even more now. How high risk it is to take a child under like 10 years old, because they go when they're not around, they're missed almost immediately, because they're still at that age where you're forever keeping a close watch on them because they're big enough, but they're not big enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I feel like the part about the intruder is I always thought that the window in that room, except for the latch being closed on the outside of the door, has always been a problem for me. But I always thought that that was going to be their escape attempt, and they couldn't do it, so they left it and then went and shut the door back. Do you know what I mean?
I heard that latch was just like a piece of wood with like a screw in it, so I wonder if it could have just like.
The fact that he didn't know there's a ransom note, but they still left a body, because everybody's like, well, then why is there a ransom note in that argument? But that would make sense why there would be a note and then there would still be a body.
But who would take the time to write such a long note when you're
someone that's not smart?
Who assaults and kills children? I mean,
then why would he kill her if the mission was to kidnap her? What did this kidnapper get out of it?
I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
I watched this thing on accident. It's just one of those things that came recommended, right? And it was about this kidnapping. And what had happened was this little 7-year-old, 10-year-old was kidnapped. Okay, little girl. And she came from a troubled home. She was already living with her godmother because her mom had lost custody. And the godmother essentially used her to do all of the work around the house at 10. And her husband was a deviant, and he abused her. And she lived a miserable life. But what she did have was a family friend who was supposed to be part of the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization. Okay, so on her birthday, or around about her birthday, he arranged to take her to this like arcade like place, right? Well, the aunt or the godmother gets repeated phone calls, but she doesn't answer them, so it ends up being recorded on her answering machine. All right, so it was this man, it's the little girl. She's calling for her godmother. She's saying that she's been kidnapped. She's saying that this guy's coming with a knife, and she hangs up. She called the house 19 times from the payphone outside of this arcade. But when they went to check the surveillance video, there's no image of her being inside of that arcade. And when they brought the dogs out, there's nothing. They don't find her at the arcade at all. There's no scent of her. Bottom line is, what ended up happening is it was the guy from the Big Brother. He had befriended this family who was already messed up anyways, and waited and waited and waited until he had an opportunity, and he ended up kidnapping her. And this fool, they suspected him, and they went out and looked at the house. This guy he had built a series of rooms, right, or a room behind the wall of the house. Okay, and that room led to a hole in the floor, which was basically a dungeon, and that's where he kept her. And I think that the ransom note was an intent, just like this guy, to make it appear as if it was a kidnapping instead of what it actually was. But when they couldn't find a way to get her, I think they just panicked, to be
But
honest
what
with
would
you.
be the purpose of that?
To
So
destroy,
it's just
because
delaying it for a few hours. It's inevitable that they'd find her.
well,
because they would, so they didn't get caught.
I
You
think
gotta-
I think the initial intent
To
was to take her out. For whatever
Mhm.
reason, some part of that plan was interrupted, and they were not able to do that, and likely got the hell out of Dodge real quick, meaning out of their home immediately, and didn't bother to get the ransom note out. That was the flaw. But the ransom note, I think, initially was intended as a distraction, so that it would maybe prevent John and Patsy from calling the cops right away. And then when they finally did, you know what I'm saying? Look, these are
I'm
people
picking up what
that
you're putting down.
unalive people. This isn't a good plan or a smart plan. In fact, it has a ton of holes in it. But that's what I think it was intended for.
What do you think
Hey,
about
Teresa.
Hey,
it?
T.
Hi, everybody. I didn't want to interrupt. So,
Please
so
sometimes
I may
interrupt
have
me. I
missed
need
how
it.
many people on panel think that the Ramseys were involved and how many people on panel don't think they were.
I think they were involved.
I'm half and half.
I think no.
I think no.
I don't think
Well,
so.
I did
What about
until this
signs of sexual
discussion.
abuse? There were signs of sexual abuse, long term, not fresh, long term sexual abuse.
But that doesn't mean it was her family.
All right, but again, it wraps back around to she's 6 years old. How many people was she interacting with and alone with at that age that this could even happen?
I would say a lot on the pageant circuit, just from like generalness. There's a lot of interactions that's going to go on, especially if you have very social parents that are like not only wealthy, but like very high in social standing, that
Mhm.
are always having people over, caregivers constantly at the house, or
One of
what
our
happens with a
photographers
lot of
was
people.
arrested.
And one of the things that happens with a lot of children is they get abused by a family member that the parents would never even suspect.
And I have to say, I don't mean to sound gross, but I do think a part of that comes in, like, wasn't there more investigation and discussion in regards to like shit in terms of the irritation down, due to potty, like going like doing the pot, like I guess potty training thing, or just maybe having accidents recently, and like washing her, or like I don't know how to say it in a way that's not just spectacularly like inconsiderate.
The cloth thing,
Right.
is that what you're talking about? How like
Kind of
she-
that they're like just from almost like overbathing or washing it, kind of irritation just from I
like
don't
wet in
know.
the bed or things like that.
Well, I think that the essay was a huge point of controversy throughout the investigation and thereafter, because some people say that she was not, and then others are adamant that she was. So depending on,
I thought there wasn't enough evidence to say for 100 that she was.
it depends on who you listen to, honestly. I think because
Right.
there's so many different reports on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the DNA on the underwear really
Yes.
threw everybody for the big loop. But then there was the whole thing that the DNA came back to supposedly a manufacturer. So
the testing that's been done since, once the technology had advanced, said that basically some of it could have been, but the DNA that was on the child's underwear were linked directly to a salivary DNA. That's not a touch DNA. So I can't with that. That's the one that just really keeps me like, But I didn't think that there was concrete evidence of, and we all know abuse can take place without concrete visual evidence signs. So it's kind of a moot point for me.
I think I think that this is where I think the issue lies. I think when people think of SA, they're thinking of only one kind. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I meant.
think, yes. And I think what Jon Benet's autopsy more reveals is something happened but it's short of RAPE.
Well,
that's how I felt about it.
Didn't Linda Arndt, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't she say her hymen was broken?
If
I
that
don't
was the
remember
case,
seeing that.
babe, I will say this. On a 6-year-old.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying
there.
it.
No. This is why it would not ever be in question. Do you know what I mean? So this is that's another problem with this case, is that there was so much information that came out, but not all of the information that came out was accurate.
Right.
And
Indeed.
so now we
Mhm.
have, and so now we have like information, right? And some of it that is older is accurate, right? But some of it is no longer accurate, and it's hard to remember 1100 years later, because it's been a long time. And for her, bless
she
her
would
little
be
heart.
more
I
than-
mean, she's my son's age, my
Wouldn't
youngest
she be
son's age.
31?
Yeah, she's my age. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it happened when my son was born. That's right. 96, not the same age. I
They
remember
did. They did say that there was chronic injuries to her girl parts.
Yeah.
They just
Long-term, too.
never went through and said whether it was an actual, like Jen was saying, like they never said if it was actually male parts that caused that. But I do remember them saying something like Melissa J was saying about her hymen in the autopsy, that there had been, I don't know how much I can say on here, but there had been entering, but maybe not with a boy part.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, damage.
So it's like an object?
Yeah, that's what they had suggested at one
Something.
time. Yeah.
But that you can also think that could include digits on people's hands, so I just hard to use these words, but I do remember that it damaged being there, but not that it was like she had been RAPE'd that night.
See, I think this actually points to not somebody in the home, like an immediate family member, not somebody living in the home, but somebody close enough to know their schedule, close enough to know that they were about to go out of town, that they had been out that night. Exactly. Somebody, it only takes one person to have access, like the one wrong person. Do you know what I mean? And
Indeed.
I think that that girl made a really good point about the people who prey on children. This is the only time I ever really watched Oprah, but she used to do really good shows on predators, because she said that people have this idea that it is this violent, immediate assault. And Oprah's the first talk show that ever really talked about the concept of grooming, that it is a slow progression. And then she would go and interview these people in prison, and they would talk about it. They would say that they would basically do, if you like the way that you like an adult, right? The way that you find out what somebody that you're interested in, what their interests are, this is exactly what they do. It's no different. They do the same
And that they
things.
court the parents. They literally romanticize and court the parents and
Correct.
get in really good trusted positions with them, to where the last person they would ever think or believe was doing it was them.
Look at Abducted in Plain Sight. Now I have to say this.
Bizarre.
that the first documentary made everybody nuts, right? But then Peacock did like a drama series of it, okay? Which is, I think, very well done, because it puts those difficult concepts they're talking about that happened to her. They're dramatized, so it's more relatable, and you can actually understand better the process. And one of the things they didn't talk about in the documentary, but did talk about in the series, and then there's another like documentary with just the victim and a few of her family, her mom and stuff in it, right? After the fact, was the fact that she kept her SA a secret. She denied it, and she had been to the doctor, and they even had difficulty back, which obviously was a different time. But even then, that stuff hasn't really changed that much. There's not been a whole lot of, revolutions in checking for SA. But I'm just saying, like, it's very, very kids.
I got a creepy feeling, and I think it's because Melissa Jade's here, and she's kind of a little bit on the conspiracy side. And so she opens my mind to thinking about shit I would normally not thinking about. But check it out, you guys. And please, nobody take me overly seriously. But I just had this like creepy, like vibe feeling thought. So you know what they say about people who have money, and especially like upper echelon and what they do with children. And these people had a lot of money, and
John
so
had a
did
lot
many.
of connections, but that's a whole different line.
Yeah, but the money was it was
I know.
odd that it was
But there was
exact
a lot
amount.
of
It was the
people with a
exact
lot of
amount that he
money
got.
around them. And it just, if there was long term, it could have even been, you know, somebody that's from that weirder area that was a trusted business partner or something.
I think that it potentially being, and I don't rule out anything as a possibility. And I think that this could be something that the parents were even aware of. And I know people don't like to think of that, but that's why I'm like, it's a whole different life if you want to go down the connections that these families had. And a lot of people want to look the other way and not believe this type of stuff is possible, yet it does happen underneath our noses all of the time.
It does.
That is true. But just reading this right here, it says it wouldn't be until 2008 when the family was officially cleared by the prosecutors. According to the investigators, DNA found on the girl's underwear did not match anyone in the family.
Nope.
After finally being cleared as a suspect in the crime, the patriarch has pushed for DNA evidence that was never tested before to be transferred from Boulder Police to a different agency. Jon is still to this day pushing to have DNA evidence done on items that were never tested.
Yep.
Yeah, they
They're trying
cleared
to
her,
get an
yet the grand
outside
jury tried to
agency to do
indict
it.
them, correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
but
was
the
just going to
DA
say,
would
the grand
not.
jury was going to actually indict them. They were set for
The DA
indictment.
they wouldn't press charges
And they
though.
said
So.
that money.
That prosecutor was not supposed to do that in that press conference. It caused a whole big shitstorm.
So just because they've been cleared means crap to me. That is when it comes into play who you know. It's all who you know, how much money you have. And
no, that DNA doesn't match, girl. They're trying to get it into different databases,
but the grand
cops won't
jury
release it.
wanted to indict them. At what point? It's like the grand jury wants to indict them, and we're clearing them.
Wanting to do it and actually doing it are two different things.
Well, and the people that were actually investigating the case said no. You can't indict someone when the cops involved won't even fucking cooperate. You can't go forward with that. That's just so that was
but
that's
it kind of proves my point.
There.
It's all about it doesn't matter, like it's the chain of command. If the top person is saying no, everyone below doesn't have a say. So if that top person says no, it's no.
But doesn't that almost speak more to that's not so much about the Ramseys. That's more about law enforcement and the prosecutors, because if like right now, I know the Ramseys, at least from everything I've seen, Jon himself, he's pushing, like people have offered to have like to like raise the money to do the testing,
and they won't release the DNA.
They won't release it. They won't none of it. They won't even bring in the FBI. Like they won't.
Well, they've now given the case over to the cold case department, and so they have access to all of it, and should be rerunning the DNA according to what they're saying.
Yeah, but that's not the more advanced labs that Mr. Ramsey's trying to get the DNA to, though.
They're hesitant to do it for some reason, and that's where I think there's a potential.
I can think of one reason right off the top of my head. DNA evidence is precious and it's limited, and once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone because they messed up from the get-go. Like everyone agrees, like that is not your typical crime
was
scene.
Contaminated,
and they have been. I mean, they're adamant. Like, and I don't mean to say that you get tunnel vision or that it's just like bias, but like half that law, those original detectives on the case, this is what they believe. There's no changing their mind. Like, I mean, I think the woman, like y'all said about what's her name, the detective in the interview, but at the same time, this was a division that didn't even have like a homicide unit. Like this wasn't that kind of town.
They were not prepared.
They weren't prepared. So I could understand maybe certainly not wanting to lose possession of certain pieces of evidence that you could potentially test and, like, I don't know, kind of clear your reputation, or whatever in terms of the department itself. But I think that's I think it makes sense too, though, but just as much as, I don't know.
What do you guys think about, because it all circles back to that ransom note for me, and what do you think about Patsy having a pretty close match to the ransom note's handwriting? And I know, again, that's controversial also. It depends on who you ask. You'll
They said
have
it was only 2 points and not enough to be considered a match.
You'll have one expert who says absolutely, like, this is spot on, and then you'll have another one who comes and contradicts. So that's everything regarding this case. You'll have
that is true. That is true.
Well, it's just like what they're going to do at a trial anyway. They're going to have their experts that come in and say yes, and they're going to come and have their experts that say no. So you just have to figure out what expert you choose to believe.
Did y'all ever
My bigger
hear
issue
that?
Are you going to say
so
that
sorry.
somebody sat in the house long enough to write a 3-page ransom note on the
That's
pad of paper that's from the house?
And practiced.
That's crazy to me. That note is so long. And not only that, but
it's weird.
Burke was up in the middle of the night. He said he remembers he woke up because he had a toy on his mind that he got for Christmas that he wanted to put together. And then the pineapple's there, and Patsy and John don't remember feeding her pineapple. But
They say that he fell asleep in the car after leaving the Whites. Jon Benet were in the car.
Yes.
Patsy and Burke came out later, and John carried Jon Benet up right to her room. So how is there pineapple in her system? She was up at one point. So again, it's like your story is not accurate to what the evidence
She
shows.
would have had to have gotten up again and went downstairs. You know what I mean? From being carried upstairs.
And Patsy and Burke's DNA was on that pineapple bowl.
Don't
Well,
you think that
in the bowl.
Patsy's
no way
DNA
she
should have been on all the dishes, really. But don't y'all think she could have gotten back up out of bed and them not even know it with the size of that house?
I mean, I don't know. You know, like my daughter, when she was 6, definitely would not be waking up in the middle of the night and doing anything by herself like that. So, but I guess every kid is different, but I don't think it's likely.
But couldn't she have had some before they went to the party because it was already cut up and in a bowl? So
It was determined she didn't. I believe. I don't think they even had pineapple.
I think they had pineapple at the party.
Yes, they proved
This
they
article
didn't have
says on December 7th, 5 Boulder police officers, including one of the original lead investigators in the Ramsey case, were disciplined after an internal audit found misconduct in the department's investigation division.
Surprise!
Is anybody keeping up with that RICO trial from Georgia with the rapper? Is anybody keeping up with that at all?
No.
Because it's pretty interesting. They have a whole division apparently in Georgia where at the DA's office that before they indict anybody, take it before the grand jury, that there's a whole division that reviews the case, and almost they get the case file from the police department and then they review it because so that there's not problems later on in the trial. And the thing about the grand jury is they're secret, right? We have no idea who testified, what they testified to, or what evidence was presented. So it's difficult because there are some schools of thought that will say that you can indict a ham sandwich before a grand jury, that a grand jury is made up of regular everyday people like us, right? You can apply to be on a grand jury. Maybe I should.
Absolutely. My lawyer told me that.
Maybe I should do it, but then I could never talk about it and tell y'all.
One solved mystery said a fruit veg-like material which could resemble pineapple was found in her duodenum, which takes 2 to 6 hours to arrive there, not in her stomach.
I guess I just don't feel like why would John keep pushing for DNA to this day if he's the one that will be found guilty? You know what I mean? Like, why would he push so hard for it?
I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows what they did. I think that if it's an inside situation, Burke did it, and Patsy covered for him, including to John.
Well, even the strange markings that they thought were tasers line up perfectly with that train track.
I don't know.
His
looks like a taser mark, though. It looks like a taser mark.
It does. It's a very peculiar bruise.
It's it's a burn too. It's
it's
like a burn. Yeah, there's the line and everything. Like
I saw today that the train track, like, yes, that is like whatever the set that they had downstairs or that Burke had that they were comparing it to. Yes, technically it's like when you look at the models from those years, it's like the triangle mark versus the circular mark. And his on closer examination of the set that they were examining from the house, his were more rounded. This had the 2 marks on
Jon Benet had different angle
It
characteristics.
matched perfectly to a taser. And somebody in chat said it could have been a hot train track. And just for the sake of argument, those train tracks do not get that hot, or houses would burn down.
But also, how would you get a mark like that from a hot? I don't know.
It's a taser, man. It's
yeah,
a
that's what I'm
I think
saying.
if you had done that too, like I feel like it would be a scratch and stuff with it as well. Like those edges are sharp. Like I mean, if they're those old school, like the metal kind, like the little tracks. Yeah, I would think there'd be more like a line if he was like if someone had poked her with that. You know what I mean? It would scratch or leave something. These were just too.
Well, I agree with what somebody said earlier in chat too. You don't see OJ pushing for DNA tests now, do you?
I don't find that surprising because I think after this long, if there was some slam dunk, that they would have already had it. So I think with so much time passing, it's like, yeah, I'm going to keep up with why do you expect him to be like, no, don't push the DNA. Of course he's going to say push the DNA because if they had something significant at this point,
he'd let it die.
No, I don't think so. I
so
think
if you
it's all
killed
about
your kid and you made it this far, you'd be pushing? Like, is that what you would?
I think that they were very high up. It's all about who you know. I think whatever was significant is already gone.
I don't. I think the cops are protecting it. That's why they won't let it go.
I think the cops contaminated it, and that's why they won't let it go.
That's possible too.
Oh, I think it's been totally contaminated.
And I think that's why they didn't want what's his name investigating it. You know, the guy that what's his name, Schmidt, the one.
Lou Schmidt.
They wouldn't. They were so because he used to be. Yeah, they tried to get like certain people were pushing them like to let Lou like come in and help like to you got to hear this, and they didn't want anything of it because his evidence was proving opposite of what they wanted. And so there was insinuation there that once again, kind of like the good old boys club, like the blue, like the locals just protecting themselves kind of deal.
Yes, ma'am. There's so much, you guys. We could argue either way on every single piece of damn evidence. Every single piece, no matter what it is.
Well, I'd love everybody to go through either what side you look on it, whether you think the family are involved or the family isn't involved. What is your one most damning piece to this case that leads you to believe either that the family isn't or is involved?
There's a lot for me.
Only one? I don't know if I can name one.
Well, I can't make everyone choose five. I'll be here forever.
First off, I feel like the house is like, it doesn't seem like an easy, accessible home. It's big. You'd have to break in, go find her, write this long note.
And it was the back staircase too. The ransom note was left on the back staircase.
Yeah, the marker's put back in the cup, which is strange too. Like if you're writing a ransom note, why would you think about putting it back in the cup? Why would you practice it? You know what I mean? Like you're practicing it is ridiculous to me. Why
was it practice? Was it practice or just the impression from where they were burying?
That's
like,
what
they didn't find
I thought it was.
Yeah, they didn't
LFT,
find like ripped up pages. Yeah,
that it was so hard pressed that you could see it on other pages.
Yeah, it wasn't like
they wrote it with a heavy hand.
That's what I thought.
This is like a small house. I mean, I get because it's so big. Like it was a big house that maybe it'd be a lot easier to go undetected. But then you still, if Burke was up in the middle of the night, like he said that he was, then that changes things too. Because like, when did this happen? Then if they were up, so it's kind of like I don't know if the.
I was gonna say the parking keys were thrown in the trash. It wasn't just imprinted. Weren't they ripped in the trash?
They didn't. I didn't think they ever found any. Like that's what I was saying.
No, I thought they were just imprinted. Is what I thought.
I thought they were in the trash.
But let's think about this ransom note, right? And really, what it is. First of all, for whoever did this, let's say it was a stranger, and what I'm talking about is somebody not a stranger to the family. The fact that if it was an outsider, I'll use that word. If it was an outsider, Kate is right. That the way that home is laid out, you do need to have a level of familiarity with that home and with the occupants inside of it, right? Which is what I think that ransom note actually represents, is that somebody sat and waited. They knew that they watched the Ramseys. They were familiar with them. This is because otherwise, if it were a straight up stranger, there would be no need for the ransom note because let's be honest, she wasn't going to ever come back, period. And whether she came back at some, you know what I'm saying? At some point, they would have been looking for a body, period.
Well,
Or
supposedly that with the intruder theory, they thought that the person was actually trying to take her, but when they tried to get her down the stairs, she accidentally hit her head.
now,
I've heard that theory too.
that level of damage to the back to her head like that, I cannot
It's
imagine that
intentional.
being an accident. But I'll say
Yeah.
this. I think I still believe really after all these years, and I didn't at first. I was on the John and Patsy wagon for a train for a long time. But after all these years and the DNA and all that stuff, for me, it boils down to the only people who ever need to hide or make it appear as if they're not connected are people that are known to the family or close to, or known to the child, somebody that would be suspected. A straight stranger, somebody who just happened to, I don't know, pass by their house at some point, see her in the front yard and think, I'm going to take her, would have zero reason to go through all of this trouble. This, in my opinion, the things, the steps and the measures that were taken as countermeasures to avoid being caught because
Like
they
it
would be
covered up
somebody
completely
suspected
in the wrong direction.
Correct, because they
Yeah.
would be somebody that would be immediately interviewed because they were part of the inner circle. Because that's how investigations work. They start from the inside and they work their way out.
Yep.
That's
And
what
they
I
found
did
an
say
excerpt about the note.
the
Okay.
Ramseys also said that they felt like that's how the investigation went, that they started looking at them and them only.
Well, John said that when he was told it was somebody that was either really upset with him or very jealous of him, that it had nothing to do with Jon Benet at all.
Damn.
I struggle with that.
What'd you find, Kate?
So it says 3 years later in his 2000 book, Steve Thomas, is he like a detective? I don't remember that. It's a book by Steve Thomas and Don Davis. Wrote a bit more about the practice note. He reports that there was bleed through on the practice note from the previous page. He states that the practice note was page 26 and that the ransom note was written on page 27, 28, and 29. So that this All right, so it says Chet Ubowski at the CBI had pulled starting information from the tablet belonging to Patsy Ramsey. By comparing tear patterns, Ubowski had determined that the first 12 pages were missing, and the next 4, pages 13 through 16, contained doodles and lists and some miscellaneous writing. But the next group of pages, 17 through 25, were also missing from the tablet. The following page, 26, was the practice ransom note, and that page showed evidence of ink bleed through from the missing page 25. Comparisons of the ragged tops of the ransom note pages with the remnants left in the tablet prove that it had come from pages 27, 28, and 29.
So it's both. There was
Furthermore,
practice but from bleed through. That's how they knew. Is that what that's what
But
you're
it's prior. It's from the pages prior.
Yeah, and it bled through onto the I understand. Yeah, it's kind of like
so
both.
the
Keep
page
going,
is
Kate.
gone. 26 is gone. But
It wasn't
but
there for them to find, but there's evidence of it with the bleed through, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
So what they did was take the pad and they counted the pages that were left. They subtracting the pages that were ripped from the note, then the pages that were left blank. All that. That's how they figured it out. Does that make
The
sense?
evidence was on the pages that were underneath it, not in the trash can in the form of a note.
Right.
So that makes sense why we were all remembering it just a little bit differently. Yeah.
Yep. So there was a practice note, but it like that wasn't there, I guess. But they knew that it had been there because it was in the bleed through.
But don't you guys find it weird that Patsy said that Jon Benet was not wearing those underwears when she went to bed?
I find the fact that you use the word underwear is weird.
That's
No,
I was
just
chuckling
kidding.
I was more I was going
What?
oh my
How did
God,
I
you
say it?
You
Underwear.
say,
it's
I say
plural.
underwear, and I'm like, you
Like
say
how
underwears,
I
like
say
her pair of
cuckoo
underwears, and
and
I'm like,
the TikToks and all that, like how I say that, but I don't ever say underwears. I only ever say underwear.
yeah,
Oh,
underwear.
Jen Lou, from now on, you're only gonna say underwears.
You know, tomato,
Every
tomato.
time,
Underwear.
every
I
time
just think
MJ
it's
said
cute,
it, I've been.
Melissa.
Every time she says it, then I get stuck. I'm like underwears. I repeat it in my head.
I'll say underoos a lot. I do it plural a lot too.
Okay, so she wasn't wearing those underwear when going to bed.
Yes, and now that you're leaving off the S, I like that you make the inflection on the R like a valley girl. Underwear.
I want to make sure you know it's singular, not plural.
Right, correct.
So I think my hang-up's definitely the DNA evidence. I want to answer Melissa's question, I think. I think my hang-up's definitely the DNA evidence, but also the severity of her wound. And I think that I cannot say who did or didn't do anything. So I have to go by what the investigators, not everybody else after and everything else think, and which is that they did clear them. So that doesn't necessarily mean much except for that they physically are probably not the ones that obviously killed her. And as far as anything else and who had ties where or why anything happened, I don't know, but I could feel like I can successfully rule out Burke because I do not see a kid. I just don't see, like, okay, maybe he could have actually injured her that way because, you know, there's the golf club story and everything else. Okay. I'm not
I think it's the flashlight.
not
I'll just
lend
throw that out there while you're
credence.
talking.
Oh, wait.
Never been
But I'm
accounted
talking
anything.
about a different story, though. I'm talking about when they told about a time previously he got mad at Jon Benet and struck
Right.
her.
Yep.
There's different
I
stories,
heard
right?
that he rubbed
But
feces in her chocolate. Is that true?
What?
who knows? Who knows?
Chocolate?
See, I don't even give shit like that any credence. But I will say
No pun
this.
intended.
Like, yes, exactly. No pun intended at all. But like, seriously, guys, hear me out. If a kid really did this, are you to tell me that it never, ever, ever, ever slipped up once, not to any friends, not to any family members, not even to John? I'm hearing some people say that is just, to me, not possible.
How do you
I just
know it
don't
didn't?
because then people would know. If he told somebody, it would come out. Hey, Burke told me he killed his sister.
I think the parents do know. Like, and again, I don't know.
No, but I'm
I
not
don't know
talking
if
about
it
the
was Burke.
parents specifically. I'm saying I don't believe they wouldn't tell the dad. But I'm talking about in general. I don't think a child could keep that kind of secret. I just don't.
I don't think that's what I'm saying. I don't think the child kept the secret. I think the parents know. And then at your face, I think they
No,
thought
because that
Jon Benet-
implies you're not. I'm not saying it correctly, or you're not understanding me, or something. Because
probably I'm not understanding it.
What I'm saying is that would imply that he never leaked anything his whole entire life to anybody ever.
Didn't they? Didn't we start in this beginning saying how they completely secluded him? Right?
He was
He's still been in
spoken to.
contact
Yeah.
with other people.
I mean,
He
he's dated
was
people and
secluded from
such.
the public.
He was
Not
interviewed
from-
by the police too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
he was interviewed.
yes, he was, and I saw part of it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying I don't think a child could pull that off. The parents, okay, sure,
Neither do
but
I.
I feel like we could fully exclude him for that reason, not them. I am really Southern. I said HIM, not them. But I think him. I don't think he could have. I don't think a child can do that. I just really don't.
Well, I
Why
think
was he- Mhm.
Not that
I
I
would
don't think
think-
a child could kill. I just don't think they could.
I would
keep
think
it in.
if that is the case too, though, something else to think about is, I guess, the amount of push that John himself continues to give it. Like that would be if he knew hands down that his son, it was an accident, something like his son admits that he did it.
Oh, good point.
First of all, I think he would turn, like, I do think they would go in, but this is a very expensive and emotionally draining facade to keep up for 20 some odd years and to be this scrutinized over. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if he knew, I thought we would just kind of gradually, just let it kind of fade, go cold.
That's a
draw
really
attention.
good point, especially if it's Burke. That is an excellent point.
Well, I have one counterpoint to that because John has other children, and the older son is very adamant on solving this.
Mm-hmm.
I like
how
him.
would John tell his other son, "Oh yeah, we're just going to let it go"?
I don't think he would.
Right.
Well,
So
here-
he's going to
But
have
he
to
doesn't
keep
have a
pushing to
choice.
keep the cover.
He has to keep it up.
Yeah,
How old is John now, you guys? How old is Mr.
70?
Ramsey now?
70 something?
Yeah.
So he would only have to keep it up a few more years if we go with MJ's theory, bitches. Only a few more years.
All right,
Because
so
he's close to death.
I have a
what
counterpoint
if
to
Burke hit her
Teresa's
over the head,
counterpoint.
right?
He's
But
79. He's 79.
I thought you.
they
I was
didn't
about
want
to
to bring her to the hospital because John had to, like, abuse
I think
her.
they already believed Jon Benet to be dead when she suffered the head injury, but she was still alive. But then they positioned her to make it they set it up to make it appear a certain way. I don't think Jon
But
Benet's
then
death
how
was
did the
intentional.
unknown saliva DNA get in
I
her
do not put
pee?
too much in that. I literally, do you know how much transfer DNA is? How many people have come in contact with all of, like, if
Not saliva.
I don't, honestly, like, if we look at the
I
all
believe
this is
science.
one sloppy person, we have found people who work in manufacturers who have literally laced Tylenol, was it Tylenol or Advil with what was it that, remember, you guys remember the Tylenol or Advil thing where they,
yeah, but that's not the same.
no, but no, it's not the same. But what I'm saying is it takes one person at the factory or the manufacturer who may have not been wearing a mask or something.
Or
Like, if I don't put so much
No.
weight
You can
into
sneeze
that,
and spit.
yeah, you could sneeze anything. Like, that doesn't, if you
Did you
have to look
realize the odds
selectively.
of what you're saying? The
No, I'm not
odds
saying it's
of
like
what
I'm not
you're
saying
saying.
it's probable.
Because they
I'm saying
tested
it's
others.
possible.
They tested others, right? And it's the same thing, transfer DNA.
See,
It's
yes,
possible.
one solved mystery. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Under her fingernails and
Mhm.
2 spots on her long
But she
johns
was
are
just at a
commingled in the
Christmas
blood in her
party.
panties.
She's like, in all reality, like, how unlikely is it that you're gonna have people outside of that house's DNA on you? Like, I don't
Not
think
under your
that's
fingernails and shit, MJ. You've done enough true crime to know how.
absolutely I
it's
do.
there.
With the amount of people she interacted with that night alone, I absolutely do believe.
Well, we need to know what the source of the DNA was underneath her fingernails. If it is epithelials underneath her fingernails, which is from your skin,
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
very difficult to
Mhm.
get. I don't frequently have other people's epithelials up underneath my nails. Now, I might have my own, which would make
Yes.
sense. You itch yourself, right? But to have
I'm-
somebody else's epithelial, it depends on what that's
Yeah, we'd have
what
to
we
know.
need
You're
to
right.
know.
Can
We
you
need
look
to
that
know
up
the
maybe?
source.
Because I want to say that yes to that, but I don't want to say yes without being 100%. But I feel like the answer to that is yes from everything
Bust out
that
the Googles.
But I
That's what
looked
we
at
need.
What?
so fucking
Where
much.
was
I
the,
don't
where
feel
was the
safe.
saliva DNA found?
Her underwear mixed into blood droplets in her underwear crotch.
Mm-hmm. And then there are also spots
It wasn't even
spots
her
on the long
underwear,
johns.
though. It
It
wasn't her
doesn't
underwear.
matter. They were on her at the time, and there was DNA.
But how do you
saliva
know the
on
DNA
it.
transferred from her? How do you know it wasn't already on the underwear?
Okay,
because
so I
they had to-
pulled up all the DNA stuff online. If you want me
That's
to
too
read
many
it.
how do you knows
please
for
do.
me.
Yes,
So
please.
there's the single source profiles, which are only consistent with Jon Benet, were found on bloodstains from her shirt, bloodstains from the blanket, samples from the tape, bloodstains from the nightgown, and at least one of the cuttings from the underwears. Now, mixed profiles, there was DNA consistent with Burke Ramsey, was found on 3 areas on the nightgown contained touch DNA, low quantity, including Jon Benet's DNA and an additional male contributor consistent with Burke Ramsey. 1 area on the nightgown contained touch DNA, low quantity, including Jon Benet's DNA and an additional contributor consistent with Burke Ramsey and Patsy Ramsey. DNA consistent with an unidentified male known as unidentified male 1 was found on 1 bloodstain from the underwear, contained Jon Benet's DNA and an additional contributor. The
Yes,
additional
that's the one I
contributor
was
is
talking
unknown
about.
male 1.
That's the one I'm talking about.
The top right area of the long johns contained touch DNA, low quantity, including Jon Benet's DNA and several additional contributors, one of whom was consistent with unidentified male 1. There's DNA consistent with a second unidentified male. The bloodstain on the garrote contained Jon Benet's DNA and an additional 7 marker male profile, not consistent with unidentified male number 1. There's
That's
DNA
2.
consistent with a third unidentified male. The bloodstain on the wrist cord contained Jon Benet's DNA and an additional 6 marker male profile, not consistent with unidentified male 1. Additional unidentified DNA fingernails from her right hand contained Jon Benet's DNA and 2 additional contributors, 1 male and 1 female, too weak to compare. Fingernails from her left hand contained Jon Benet's DNA and 1 additional male contributor, too weak to compare. Another bloodstain from the underwear contained Jon Benet's DNA and an additional contributor, too weak to compare. Additional alleles that did not match either Jon Benet or unidentified male 1 were also present on the Long Johns.
Is that the end of the list?
There's they go into more detail, but that's the
only
basis.
one that I was worried about, the one that you listed, and I said that's the one that bugs me, not all the rest of them.
1 bloodstain from underwear contained Jon Benet's DNA and an additional contributor, 10 marker profile. The additional contributor is unidentified male 1.
So that's why they're pushing now. I'll see if I can find the link, Kate, or put it in the back chat for y'all. But what I heard today is it's all about the male thing. They want to take. It's a way to we need to identify these 2 miscellaneous.
Thank you, Criminality, for finding that and reading it. I appreciate it.
Because that makes so much sense to what I heard today. Because I was like, okay, I get that. It's essentially kind of like with the Golden State Killer, kind of along those lines. It's but really isolating
ancestry
those.
DNA.
Yes, it's something about isolating those, pulling more. What else they can from those 2 independent male, those other markers that don't match anyone in the house.
I'm curious if they've considered using MVAC. Now, I used to not be a proponent of MVAC because it's a consumptive type of test. So once if they pull any DNA, it's on these
you can't use it again. Can
well,
you?
no. What you can do is this is the thing. It goes on like this filter thing. Okay. It looks like a filter that you stick in like your vacuum, like the little round one, but it's thinner. It's cotton, but it's thin.
Yes,
right?
I know exactly what you're talking
And so
about.
what they do is they pull the DNA and it sits in that filter, and they only have to use a tiny bit of the filter to get a genetic profile, right? So they theoretically could use that same filter over and over and over and over, rather than using like the from the fabric or
Rather
whatnot.
than taking more samples and more samples and more samples until it's gone. Yes, ma'am.
But
yes, ma'am.
it's not ever been done in court yet. This is where it comes in. This is where it's problematic. It's excellent scientifically, but it's problematic because there has to be a precedent for it in court.
Well, and you have to be able to make a jury, and you have to be able to make a jury understand the process and how thoroughly and
yes, I think
it's hard
I don't think that's
do.
going to be the issue. What I think is going to be the problem is in that they're going to have to prove that there is no possibility. Who gets who? This is the other problem. Who's going to hold on to the filter after it's used, right? So does it go back to the cops, or does it then become MVAC property? That's where it's going to be problematic.
Well, there would be contamination issue arguments too. That's what I meant by a jury.
Yes.
It would be easier to argue contamination.
Especially
so speaking of contamination, they actually are one of the theories that goes against this unidentified male DNA is that the scissors that were used to cut the Long Johns and cut the underwear were the same scissors, and even it says even a small amount of contamination or failure to sterilize would present the foreign DNA on both the evidence items, which is what they're saying is possible with the unidentified male 1 DNA on the Long Johns and the underwear.
Going to be problematic. This case is going to be problematic prosecutorially.
The whole case is
this
fucking
is going to be an
problematic.
issue. Well, it's going to be like they could do all the DNA testing and come up with a great suspect, but what's going to be difficult is prosecuting the suspect, because every single error that anybody in this case ever made, especially the crime lab, if they made any, which sounds like there's a possibility that they did, is going to be brought up in court. And that is what that's what gives reasonable doubt. Opens the door. Some juries buy it, some juries don't. You never can tell with 12 people. It's been
so long I feel like it would have to be the most solid, airtight case ever for them to even try to prosecute someone. And even then, it's been so long, it's going to be hard because everybody's heard of this case, man.
Well,
Everybody.
there are cases that are long, like old. Like there's a case coming up here in Florida. They call it the clown killer, the killer clown, the woman
I've
that
heard of
dressed
that.
up. Yes.
God.
Okay, that case is 20 years old,
Oh, you're
and
right.
yeah, so it's an old case, but it doesn't have the flaws in the way that the case was investigated and ultimately through DNA ended up with the suspect who then ended up being, charged and indicted, right? But this case, because initially the investigators were leaning so hard into it being John and Patsy, they're going to bring up the things that Melissa brought up about, John and Patsy. That's what a defense attorney's job is to do, is to bring in reasonable doubt. And the easiest way to do that, or
Yep.
most effective, is through alternate suspects. And if you can prove even better way would be the cops are even arguing about who did, about who did it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's all going to come out. This is going to be problematic to prosecute.
That's what's so
Yeah.
sad is like almost like if you were assuming it is, say it's a third party, like no one at all related to him, this guilty, like that a part. Excuse me for being pessimistic, but I'm like, well, damn, that person's got the best case ever then right now in terms of technicalities to get out on, because it's all going to go back to even how the scene was handled from the moment that the cops got
Yep.
there. Like they can
Included
argue
from the
everything.
beginning.
Yeah.
Who was bringing up, one of y'all brought up a good point, and somebody in chat said something, and it actually addressed something one of y'all already said. Let me pull up a little bit. Here is my case. If this was a scam gone bad, why did they ask for money but never took the body? Johnny, there were a couple of the ladies earlier were talking about the suitcase that had the DNA. Do y'all want to touch on that again?
Oh, it was fibers. There were fibers found in the DNA from items that were on Jon Benet, like the blanket and I think her long johns, if I'm not mistaken.
And they want the Ramseys, I think, and y'all correct me if it's the half brother and or John, but they want the handle of the suitcase tested because I think their impression is clearly something went wrong.
It under the window.
Yep, and that they were like, but in that apparently it's never been tested, the prints or any kind of swabs. I don't
And
know.
do we know if the suitcase is still being held in evidence?
The cobwebs are undisturbed. I think
that
it was put
bothers me
there.
so bad because that window is
Cobwebs were
small.
if someone slithered through the way
I don't
Smith
think that
said
they
did.
I don't think that they're, well, I mean, that's not my theory. I always have thought that window was intended to be an escape only, not an entrance, which is why
Indeed.
the things aren't, that it's not disturbed in the way that it should be. They didn't come in that way. I think they intended to go out that way.
I do
Didn't
agree
they
that
already?
they,
Didn't they
I
move
feel like
the
they were
crate?
waiting inside. I feel like they were waiting inside.
Didn't they move the crate? The like outside. You know how it was like the little metal.
Oh, the grate. Yes.
The grate. Sorry, thank you. Great. Wasn't that like catty-wonky? Like kind of like it, you could tell someone had either already kind of
there was
dislodged
some
it.
kind of issue with that grate outside of that window, but I think that that it's been explained both ways, that it happened long before, that basement window was always not able to be locked, and there's the problem. The problem is that this scene, because at the end of the day, when those cops showed up, they didn't know whether they were coming to a kidnap. They had no idea they were going to find Jon Benet but at the end of the day, it was still a crime scene for the fact that she was supposed to have been kidnapped out of that home, and they did not secure that scene.
And he
that's
didn't even,
problematic.
The officer didn't open the door simply because of a lock. Like he was like, I had just assumed that they could, like I would, if I was a criminal attorney, I'd be like, this is a police officer, a member of law enforcement is supposed to be inspecting this in full house and everything, and he never even bothered to even unlock it or relatch or to check it. Like he just
because I think they all assumed that because the window lock didn't work, that would be the point of entry and not potentially a point of exit. I just don't think they could get themselves out of that window. I don't think they could. If you can get yourself in somewhere, you can get yourself out somewhere, right? So if you're strong, you know, and although gravity works, it's easier to pull yourself down than it is to pull yourself up. I mean, it does take different muscles, but at the end of the day, they were unsuccessful in this. I don't think anybody came in or out of that window, but I do think that that was and they thought about it. They were just unsuccessful because there was some disturbance inside of that room by the window.
Well, and then don't forget about the scream that the neighbors heard.
I could get down with them waiting in the house, but they would have to, like, I feel like if that's the case, they would have to know their schedule, and maybe that's why they took forever to do that note. I mean, if they were doing the note when they were gone, then that like that would make them it a little bit more comfortable for them not to rush. You know what I mean? Knowing that they were gone. But it is kind of weird. They put the pad back where it was and put the pen back in the cup.
Well, like think about that. Think about it. If you were waiting, right? Wouldn't
you want anything
exactly? Wouldn't you try to put shit back where you found it?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're my kids. My kids don't give rat's fat kneecap. I can.
Well,
tell
you don't want them to know that you're in the house
throughout the day because they leave a trail. So I don't even have to be home to know what they did. I'll be like, oh, I see what you did all day.
Okay, but then certain pieces are missing. Like, oh, go ahead, Melissa.
Patsy
Sorry,
was in the same outfit. She's never even changed. Don't you find that peculiar?
I thought she just put back on the same clothes.
I thought, yeah.
Okay. What's the
her kid was missing and she said fuck it and threw back on the same clothes. That's probably what I would do.
I would be in whatever clothes I was in the moment I found out, because the last thing on my mind would be getting back dressed.
But that's
not me if I was about to have a house full of people and my tits were flopping in my nightgown.
You guys
highly disagree. I could care less if I was butt ass naked. My only concern would be my child.
But
but you're from the north.
You're a Yankee, babe. She's from
the
south.
Don't pull in that. No.
It really is true.
Melissa, it's a thing. I'm telling you, there are women of a certain age.
So you don't think she would have gotten more of an easier outfit? She put stockings back on.
What's easy for listen?
Then what's already there?
Here's the deal. What's easy for one person isn't easy for another. I wouldn't wear them big ass honking earrings that she wore ever, but she did.
But no matter the year,
When did she change? When did she change clothes? Like, was it when her friends got there and it was like, all right, come on, we'll get you upstairs. The cops are on the way.
Outfit when police arrived.
Yep. So probably her friends. Her friends probably got her ass together like good girlfriends.
Like,
do.
come on.
I don't think she ever changed.
Okay, so what else did she do the rest of the okay?
Well,
Melissa, walk me through yours.
Holes in their story. Their story that Jon Benet was already sleeping and Jon brought her right up to bed. There's a hole in that. There is pineapple in her system. There's pineapple on that.
What you just said too. So help me. Like if she didn't change, then how did she manage not to get any blood or disturbance on her outfit at all?
There really wasn't much blood.
But she didn't get any disturbance of any kind on that outfit.
Well, did they ever take her into evidence?
I was just going to say, did they check her outfit?
No.
Teresa has the list of all the things. Teresa, it's her.
One solved mystery. One solved mystery. Did they ever check Patsy's outfit? She's like, she knows all the.
Hey, you guys, Parker asked a question, and I think it was a good one, and I guess we lost her off panel, and I kind of have to jump, but I'm curious what y'all think. Do y'all think the case will ever get solved?
No.
No.
I don't either.
Sadly, no.
I think the only thing to take away from
fluke DNA. I think if it does, it'll be a fluke on of DNA.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that's the only way. I mean, I wish they could do it just to give. I mean, for those who believe Jon has nothing to do with it or something, if there's a way, even if they can't go to court with it, but they're like, listen, the DNA we found isn't yours. It isn't Burke's. It is, if it's only for that, I almost think it'd be worthy of testing it. But I can think of the other thing that's come from the Jon Benet Ramsey case, and I think we've seen this as time has progressed. Like you go from Jon Benet and how that was handled in terms of, protocol. And
stuff, then you go to Casey Anthony and look how that's handled, and the missteps there, and then you go, and then, I don't mean to bring Quentin Simon up, but I'm just saying like how thorough these people were. Like, if you can't take, if we can't get in terms of justice, like someone held accountable for this, I hope like it's the case set a precedent of things that cannot happen again. Like I don't know, but I'm with y'all. I fear that no, it won't ever be solved. I do think they could potentially get it DNA wise, but I don't know. I think there are too many obstacles in going to court with it.
Jon Benet deserves justice. That's what pisses me off. She deserves justice. She was such a bright little child. And, I think it disturbed everybody to see her all made up and dolled up. And it is weird.
Yeah, it was disturbing to me.
But and you made a really good point, Melissa. I never even thought about the bitch having on the same clothes. That's what I'm saying. You get me thinking about the weirdest shit. But, I just feel like that she deserves justice.
She does.
And no matter what that means. And I wish that could happen. That's all I was going to say, really. Thanks for having me up, Kate, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and jump down and just listen now.
Thanks, that girl.
All right, thanks for
Bye,
that girl.
guys. It was fun. Bye.
Know that girl.
Bye, baby.
Did y'all know? Had y'all ever heard? We all knew that the handwriting samples had been done. Remember, like Patsy's was the closest.
Right.
The clip I listened to today, and I swear to gracious, I'll send it to y'all. But it did say like the damnedest thing out of it. Like we never heard the final report. Apparently the combination of all the testing that was done. Yes, the markers were close, but it all I never heard someone come out and say that ultimately, no, it ruled them out. Like they weren't close enough as a match. Had anyone else ever heard this? Because we knew it was off, the point score in terms of like how you score it in terms to matching the handwriting, like the 1 or the 2, whatever. I can't remember whatever she was, but that the final conclusion from the experts that analyzed the stuff, like in the full report, they all were like, no. It's not conclusive.
I've
It
heard
rules
it both ways. I think I've heard it both ways.
But yeah, I've heard people say it was a perfect match, and then I've heard people say that it wasn't at all.
I don't know why it surprised me, but it also had been a minute since I'd looked at.
Well, I think we have to remember too. Like, remember when this happened? I remember very distinctly the amount of, specifically the Inquirer, like for the longest time, almost every week, or however often, I think they're weekly. Every week she was on the cover for the longest time, and there was, new details and new details this and new details that, and most of them they weren't 100% wrong, right? They had a kernel of truth and fact to them, and they came from the police, but they were greatly exaggerated. And I think that's been the problem from day one. For like, if you're going to look back on it as a true crime case, you really need whatever they would be willing to release to the public, even if it's just something small. If we could just know the facts of the case, which they must be releasing something, because otherwise, how would that show on A&E be able to do what they did? They didn't pull some of those details. Those came from the case file. There's no way they just, made those up, because, their reputations would be on. This is Dr. Henry Lee, for Pete's sake.
I love how you loved him so much.
I do love him so much. You have no idea. I have the biggest crush on Dr.
You're like
Henry Lee.
fangirling.
I just love him. Everything about him. I just love him. I can't help it.
Do y'all agree though that there has to be some sort of conclusion in terms of law enforcement, even any fraction of it in terms of pushing this case forward? Everyone must acknowledge they don't have enough. Like there's not enough there to say there's the Ramseys conclusively did this. Like, because wouldn't they be pushing it too if they were like, no, we're on to something?
They were exonerated 2 years after Patsy died.
Yes.
Yeah.
Patsy died from ovarian cancer in 2006. The Ramseys were publicly exonerated 2 years later in 2008.
Oh yeah, okay.
This is what I think is going to end up happening.
I
Tell
think
us,
that
Jen Lou.
John Ramsey is and his son, his oldest son, are going to continue to push and push and push for testing and answers, and I think that they are going to get them. But this is where it's going to get stuck. There is knowing and there is proving, and you only get one bite at that apple. And getting a prosecutor just solely based on DNA evidence, although it's very good evidence, I think if the person doesn't confess in some way, shape, or form, acknowledge one or two things, maybe not a full out confession, but at least acknowledge one or two things important that need to be acknowledged in order to get this person prosecuted. I think the next thing we're going to see that's going to be huge is them not prosecuting, because knowing and proving are two different things.
Yeah. They gotta hurry up. He's 79 years old.
Yeah.
He won't be around for it.
That's what I was
So-
thinking.
I don't think it'll ever happen.
I could see it being this Helgoth guy if it was somebody that was waiting in the house.
That's what I was
Although-
going to ask you guys, but I wanted to know your opinion on him.
He doesn't really look like the type of guy who would write a ransom note like that.
Is that the blonde guy? Sorry, I
Yeah.
can't. Okay,
I
the
mean,
one
maybe
that
I'm just being judgy, but he doesn't look like, you know what I mean? It felt like a rich person writing that up. Who, like, this guy, he has like a mullet, and he just
You know
doesn't
what
look
it felt
the
like
type
to
of
me?
fella
It
who
felt
would've
like
wrote that.
somebody who was mocking rich people writing it. It sounded,
Maybe.
it had an
It
air of
sounded
snark
like
to
a
it.
rich person trying to mock what they think someone would mock a rich person over.
To you, that's what it sounded like. To me,
Absolutely.
I agree.
It screamed overthinking. Nobody would put that much detail. If you were really going to commit a crime like that, the less is more. This person sat here and wrote a novel. It is unheard of.
It's not that unheard of, but let's be honest here. We're talking about 1996. DNA was in its infancy, okay? And there were a lot less, I mean, the window was closing for sure by 96 of people who could be able, but it's nowhere near where it is now.
Right.
It is almost impossible for you not to be caught on camera somewhere. I can tell you right now that I'm caught down at the Shell station in my neighborhood every other day on their camera footage, because I'm forever by my 5
digital
hours.
footprint, right?
Right. And then I'm forever on the YouTubes. I'm forever on everything. It would be it's almost impossible now. But in 1996, you have to put your head back in 1996. And I know that you were probably like a toddler then.
I was her age, yeah.
I was
So
graduating high school.
I was 13.
I had graduated high school and had two kids already in 1996. So
okay, Mom.
Time ago.
But I could see it also being someone like, say, this, like the guy, the blonde mullet guy, someone that's like, okay, like this is kind of one of like his first association with maybe getting involved with something this far, like so therefore he's like, all right, I'm going in and I write this note and I know all this. Like I can see both sides of that, of it being, I didn't go like rich person making fun of a rich person, or like make, the wealth and the way, the terminology and everything. I literally think it was someone like I could see it also being someone that was trying to kind of make it look like that.
They were overcompensating.
Like a little bit. And just being like this, you know what I mean? The attaché, like an attaché.
Someone who went to school for writing, creative writing and journalism.
But listen, you guys are underestimating the mullet, okay? The mullet is business in the front and it's party in the back, which means you can be both.
He was business. He was all business right then.
Right, exactly.
Well, with this guy, they found a taser or a stun gun.
The boots
that were the same size and same type of boot that matched the prints. During that press conference, right before he ended up unaliving himself, the strategy was one that was used, that they believed that the person would actually either turn themselves in or commit suicide right after that press conference. This guy did. There's supposedly a taped confession from him.
What's his name?
What he did.
Who is this? I'm sorry.
Michael Helgoth, I think it is.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, and somebody supposedly still has this. The guy who called in the tip They never called him back. Over 20 times the guy called in to tell them about Helgoth and what he believed happened.
Because Helgoth's family says they don't think they like. I think the last quote I saw that I read today, it was like they don't think that he was involved. But it's no like hard. It's very simple, simplistic. But I don't know. Like it does make me go.
His coworker's adamant that he's involved.
Yeah, I think. And someone like that, if you're a novice at it, like it's kind of you have to kind of, I hate to say that, but like earn your stripes and say something goes wrong. I mean, and clearly something went wrong. If the intent was to take her out, something like to get her out of the house, something went wrong and they couldn't get her.
I never heard that they'll let you listen to the tape for $10K.
Really?
Yeah, that's what One Solved Mystery just said. I've never heard that you can listen to it for $10K.
Well, how about we take that $10K and put it towards doing some DNA research? I don't know. Like, I don't want to. I won't pay for it for $10K, but let me know if y'all know someone who does.
All right, there is an article on Cooking Panda that says exactly what One Solved Mystery is saying. Nearly 20 years, Ollie Gray, blah blah blah. John Kennedy, who used to work for Helgoth. No, Cooking Panda, I don't want to do whatever the fuck it is you're asking me to do. Who used to work for Helgoth also told the magazine that Helgoth was responsible for the killing. Quote, there was a tape recording made by Helgoth, Kennedy said, and in it he said he Killed Jon Benet, end quote. Kennedy told the magazine the tape still exists and has been overlooked by police throughout the investigation, according to the Daily Mail. Wow.
Well, and they won't answer I think if anyone right now tried to reach out, if we were, say, putting together a legit documentary or something, they're going to be like, we can't tell you anything because it's still an open case. And so we all say people are going to hit that roadblock right now, which is another reason why I don't think they're passing, this evidence along for it's under.
And now
John Mark Carr.
Yeah, but Kennedy doesn't even think that he actually unalived himself. Kennedy believes that he was unalived by an accomplice. A gun found at the scene of his self-harm was on the right side of the body, but the bullet hole reportedly went from left to right. He was unalived.
It was through a pillow
to keep his mouth shut.
So that would make sense too if it was an orchestrated thing in terms of Jon Benet. Like if he wasn't, let's just say he wasn't leading the rodeo. Like clearly he was a piece of this. Is that kind of what we're insinuating? That this wasn't a one-man show. This could have been a bigger ring, not so much a ring, but you know what I mean.
They're trying to get the money from the Ramseys. Yeah, they were going to split it.
I
That
just
is a
can't see him
mullet.
being a guy who comes up with the word attaché. I mean, unless it's from a movie, then I
It's
can get
bougie,
down.
that's for sure. But
You see him writing that?
I
can't
could.
see him writing that.
Business in the front, party in the back. You don't know what people know. Listen.
He could have made the same movie.
I'll just tell you that my brother, who's older than me, well, both my brothers are older than me, but they both had major mullets. My one brother is probably one of the smartest men I've ever met in my whole life. And he bore a mullet for a very long time.
Power of the mullet.
They were popular back then to me.
They were.
I make fun of them both.
False
Still this
confessions exist. Look at John Mark Carr, right? We can't sit here and say he admitted to it. Yeah, there's a bunch of people who would.
Well, yeah, but look, there's a difference though, Melissa, between
there is
a false confession, which is what Michael Carr gave, right? And this is what they're saying that he did is very, very different. If this isn't a false confession, how you look at the end of the day, whenever there's a crime committed, there's always things at the crime scene that make investigators have questions, right? And the way you know that if you got a good confession or not is that A, some of the questions are answered, and B, the confession matches the known evidence, right? And so that's how you tell the difference between what he did, what
Carr did.
Carr did is a false confession. He came in and just straight up made up stuff. This is what Helgoth did is different. He allegedly taped it like a Dear Diary, but on a tape. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
so
then
it's different.
Do you think there could be any connection? Do y'all think there, or do you all think there's any connection between what happened with Jon Benet and then what was it, like 3 or 9 months within a year, less than a year later, it happened to another girl that went to the same dance school as Jon Benet in the area, like in the neighborhood. But they didn't get like she was able. There was another incident with another child within a year who went to the same dance class, was in the same dance school as Jon Benet, but the person got like she either woke up. Oh gosh. I should have looked at this again before I brought it up. But a similar incident that happened with like a girl or like same age as Jon Benet that went to, did the dance stuff, did school, but she ended up being okay. But it was like an attempt. There was an attempted kidnapping of this child too out of her home.
Oh. I don't remember that.
I think I remember hearing something about that, but I don't remember.
I'm not going like, okay, I'm all of a sudden going, do I have the case wrong? But I want to say it was like,
it sounds familiar, but I don't remember that much detail about it.
It's something like, yes. All I remember is definitely the dance class thing. I certainly remember. And it was within a year of when it happened to Jon Benet. But, and it happened in the house, but there was something went wrong. So like she ended up being okay, but the person got away. But it's the creepiest thing. This person had been in their house. Been like
what was it? One mystery, unsolved mystery. Mm-hmm. They're telling you about. Yeah, this is the 12-year-old. The guy was waiting inside their house. Mm-hmm. The thing was, they actually found cigarettes outside that house, and also cigarette butts outside of the Ramsey house.
Okay.
But I want just real quick. I want to answer prayer partner. No, yeah, you could do a FOIA request, okay, but just because it's a cold case, but it's still an open case, which means that you would be very, very limited on what they would give you. So, I mean, there's stuff that's been made public already, so we could probably get stuff like that. But as far as anything new, which is what we really need, new and helpful to the investigation, we likely wouldn't get any of that.
Well, I think the biggest issue is all the forensic evidence that they have that hasn't been matched to anybody.
Right.
That's where everything is lacking. I don't know if it's necessarily that they have evidence that they haven't even told the public about. They might. I mean, but I don't. It's more that they've never found any matches to anything of sustenance.
Well, that's probably because this is my thinking anyway, right? So Tracy, you would know the answer to this right off the top of your head. I can't remember when they started making it, if you were ever arrested for a felony crime, regardless of what the felony was, they started taking a DNA sample, right? They didn't always do that. And so the person who we're looking for, there's nowhere to match it to. It's going to have to be something like the Golden State Killer, where they use ancestral familial DNA, where they use one of those databases. And even then, it's not a guarantee.
I do know that CeCe Moore at one time was trying to work with them to use ancestral DNA. And I don't know if that ever changed, but it was a couple of years ago. I remember in one of her groups, she had talked about it, and they didn't want to work with her.
Interesting. Ava, I think it's a thing because I think what it is it's about you have to give permission in the United States for your DNA to be stored anywhere. Once you've been accused of a crime, a felony, right? Then it used to be anytime you were ever arrested, everybody got fingerprinted, but now we've leveled up, and now we're doing DNA, but not for everybody, only for felonies, right? So I think it's one of our constitutional rights. Like, I mean, we have to give permission for it. I mean, I don't care. Once I pass away, look, I don't need anything I have anymore after I'm not on this earth. Take whatever the hell you want. I ain't using it. That's how I feel. That's my policy.
Take
Can't
my
take-
DNA, take
Can't
my
take it with
hair,
you. Can't
take
take it with you.
Yeah, take my lungs, take my heart, take my kidneys. Might have a little trouble with my liver, but if you think you can take it, look, if you can use it, you can take it. Take my
Do you-
clothes. I don't care. I'm not using none
Okay,
of that
but
shit.
so Jen Lou, who's that amazing attitude. So that attitude we're clearly not seeing in terms of the Jon Benet Ramsey case. So do you all think that not even that it'll be solved, that they will even do more testing?
Yeah,
I think they pop up every here and there, and they'll do
I
it.
think they
because
will.
It's such a massive spotlight of a case that they have to upkeep that type of stuff.
I think that what's going to take is, like I said, it's going to have to be, they're going to have to do some type of ancestral database search. And there's questions about if that violates people's civil rights, if that is some kind of, and remember, you know how we do it in the United States. Each state has their own laws about that. So it's going to be on a state by state basis, whether or not it's something that they're willing to do.
But that's essentially what brought the Golden State Killer case to a conclusion, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just making sure.
That's my favorite thing, right?
Yes, I do.
The Golden State Killer DNA.
The ancestral DNA. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's.
It's important, but it also has far-reaching legal consequences, because I will say this. I see the value in it, but you know me, I love to argue the other point, right? And when people first started, giving their DNA to Ancestry DNA, for example, right, way back when it was first started, this wasn't a thing. They weren't thinking forward to this, right? So how could they?
Well, in fairness, they don't use Ancestry.
But you know what I'm saying?
I do, but I'm just saying.
Okay, so let me put it a different way. Whenever anybody in the very beginning started giving their DNA, before this became a thing, before this was a thought of it being used later on down the road in this way, I don't think there was anything in their permissions that would allow for this type of thing to be used. So we need to get some kind of laws going so that we can close up any loopholes legally, because it would be a disaster if the evidence ended up being thrown out of court because it was based on some type of ancestral DNA, because they don't just stop there. That's where they start, and then they go and obtain, try to obtain the person's actual DNA for a comparison. But that's the start of it. That's all
So
I'm
with
saying.
the Golden State Killer, the biggest issue was that they actually took his DNA, or took the unknown DNA, and they put it in the databases, or the one main database, which is called GEDmatch, and they didn't contact the company. They just did it. So they found the relatives by doing it that way without any like partnership. So from that case, when they started doing other ones, like Ancestry, 23andMe, like the ones that you like buy over the counter, or like from Amazon or whatever, they don't actually use those. So they use it's a database basically where you can take. So if you upload your DNA to Ancestry, you can take your DNA, the strip of your DNA, your code, and you can enter it into GEDmatch, and then you have to actually click a button that says I agree to the terms, and then on there's like a big disclaimer that talks about that law enforcement does have access to GEDmatch.
Well, good.
And they can use your DNA. So there's people in the chat that are like, you can't have my DNA. Here's the thing. If anybody that's related to you in any which way has entered their DNA, they have your DNA. They don't need you to do it. It just makes it easier for them to collect or to get closer matches, like familial matches.
What is GEDmatch?
GEDmatch? So that's like the main, like the hub. So that's where everybody, you can take it. So if I have my DNA is through Ancestry. So I take my DNA code, I upload it to GEDmatch. So that way, if you and I are related and you tested in like 23andMe, you're not going to show up on my Ancestry matches, right? So you could take your code from 23andMe and you could upload it to GEDmatch. It's a free site. And then we can find each other that way.
Is GEDmatch that woman, the blonde woman with glasses that's like helped with the cases? Is she the one that runs or started?
She runs a company called Parabon.
Thank you.
which does the DNA testing. It's one of the companies. There's many companies now. She's one of the most popular. But
so basically, this site is like CODIS for regular people.
It basically is. So what happened was after the Golden State Killer, people were like, "Oh my gosh, they could actually find, they could solve all these cases." Or the big thing was to find like John and Jane Does and identify them. That's actually the more common practice of what they use it for, but the ones that are more high profile are these cases that get solved because
isn't that how they found the boy in the box?
Yeah, so they did. They found the boy in the box. Different company found identified the boy in the box by ancestral DNA just recently.
Yeah, I mean it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing, and I think that's how this case is going to be solved. That's just what I think. But the results that they have at this point are problematic because they're a mixture, and then there's some that are not a mixture that don't have enough. They don't have enough to.
So that's part of the bigger issue is like older samples that are degraded. They basically have to like kind of fill in those blanks with a DNA code, which is more sciencey than anything. But and then ones that like they're talking about, like when I was reading the DNA they found, like we're a 7-point match, an 8-point match, a 10-point match. Those can change what you'll be able to find.
Like Jurassic Park, where they filled in the blanks with the frog DNA.
Wait, so T though, all the matches.
I'm just kidding. It's not the same thing.
Oh my god, you literally
we're creating dinosaurs.
Okay, because I was just going down a thought train and then I ended up.
Can you imagine if I was in some kind of data bank and people made clones of me? Can you imagine? That would be a nightmare. Nobody wants
Mini
me.
NATO runs them up. NATO runs them up.
A whole theme park of Jen Lou's. Can you imagine? Actually, that might be a fun theme park for like 5 minutes.
Little mullet Lou's and everything.
I don't ever have a mullet, ma'am.
No,
thank you.
But that's the nice part about having multiples.
But wait, I have one quick question, and then I'll pop off too, so other people can continue chatting. Okay, there was no, in terms of the outside DNA that we're looking at that we have available to us, or that they've collected in terms of evidence, those outside markers that like currently we want to explore more, those are all male focused, right? Like there wasn't, other than like Jon Benet and maybe some of Patsy's because she's in that, like there was no other outside like unidentifiable female DNA on her, was there?
No, there was
male.
no.
It was all male. Okay.
There was samples that they said were too small to do anything with. But no, it was all male.
Okay, male.
Basically, an unidentified male 1 and an unidentified male 2 were the main unknown.
Dang. This makes me want to rewatch. Oh my God, I need to go to bed. It makes me want to rewatch everything again, just like when I rewatch parts of Dr. Oz. And then by the way, put Jon Benet Ramsey in y'all's YouTube search. Don't even like narrow it down. And it was like all this new stuff that I was like, how? Clearly I'm ADD. So it'd be like, I didn't watch. And then it was like a short one and I watched the whole thing. Because I was going down like the red line was like, you've already seen this forever ago. But it does make me want to go back and watch that special. And then I think the 60 Minutes Australia, the one when they do the investigation and they all sit at that like clear glass table. I think they did one too on her recently.
I didn't see. I watched
60 Minutes Australia. I think it's the Australia one. It was pretty interesting.
They did it on Jon Benet?
Yes.
Yeah, they did. It was it the short-haired blonde who did it?
I think she was on it. Yes, like hosted, and then.
So did anyone watch the behavior panels thing on it?
I watched him on
what was their take on it?
I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Oh wait, like that John Ramsey, a lot of his stuff. Okay, wait, I did watch one the other day. It was one of when he and Patsy are sitting on the couch. That one, and they're kind of gripping the hands.
And she was on Xanax. Well, she was on medication to help.
Yes,
he was very calm. And, yeah,
but they noticed something about the way he spoke. They didn't. It seemed to be something about his eye indications and whatnot were very consistent with his behavior and how he would approach it as a businessman too. And they brought in this whole thing in terms of being
he is used to like dealing with, people that might not see eye to eye with him, leading an industry, yada yada. Like they tied in his whole
like conflict resolution.
Yes, and like how he deals with stuff, and they tied all that in, and they really, to be honest, and someone else watch it and don't before I give like the final answer. But my impression was that they were like, I can't, like, I could see maybe for a second, but no, it's very consistent with his behaviors. It was interesting, but yes, it tied it in.
When I first watched Patsy's interview, the one that she did where she was pleading for the person to come forward, right? I was young when I watched that the first time, obviously, but now that I'm older, I have a different impression, and I've been thinking about it for a while. Why, Patsy, she seems sedated. And then I remembered that Patsy, it's not like she didn't, when she died of ovarian cancer, she'd already had it before. And I have to say, I think some of Patsy's behavior is because Patsy had access to pills, and that's just the truth. And she is sedated. That's it. So I'm going to say about that.
She was prescribed medication?
Well, she would have been prescribed all kinds of stuff because she had cancer. So, I mean, they used to, back in the 90s.
She was diagnosed at that point?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She'd already had it once before. Like she was in remission at the time. Yeah. When Jon Benet passed.
Yeah. And in the 90s, they gave out good pills. I mean, it was easier to get access to stronger medications where, they've now put now we're more careful and cognizant of the long-term ramifications. Well, like I said, better pills.
And not to mention, not to mention giving her something already to calm her down because she just lost her daughter, and I
was just watching Wolf of Wall Street when he takes those the ludes and the lemons.
Most epic scene ever.
And now of course he thinks he's saying all the things correctly. Like he's having a whole cognizant conversation, but he's not. It's all in his brain.
See, that's funny. You thought of that, and I thought of the episode like Bad Boys 2, where he accidentally took the ecstasy. They were at the guy's house, and he's like, "Look at the fish." It's one just like drinking the goldfish water.
That's
like,
funny that you guys thought of that, because I think of Go when she gave him. They all thought they were doing X, and she gave him a bunch of baby aspirin and stuff. That's what it made me think of. We all have our
I just
thing.
watched that movie the other day, though, so that's what made me laugh about it. That he drives his Lamborghini and he crashes it into everything, but in his mind, he like made it home perfect.
Yeah,
he was like nailed it.
That movie is recorded as the most F-bombs ever dropped in a movie.
Really?
Yeah.
It's such a great cast.
It's so, and the part with Matthew McConaughey is completely improvised, where he's banging the chest and doing because he says that's something he does before every time he goes on set. And so he did it. And in the scene, you could actually see Leonardo DiCaprio looking over at Scorsese, not knowing what to do. But Scorsese says, just roll with it. And it made the final cut. And it's really funny watching it now.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I could watch it over and over again. That's initially what I thought of, though, like the Quaaludes and all. They gave like really strong stuff back then. They would never give that stuff out now.
Ludes was a little before Patsy. She would have been, probably too young for Ludes. But I mean, I'm just saying, like this is when you would go to this is right at the time when they started doing those. When you would go to the emergency room and they'd ask you to rate, no matter what you were in there for. Because they had done that study where people were languishing with gunshot wounds, and they weren't getting any kind of pain medication. They're just laying there waiting, right? So they started doing all of that, and then they'd ask you what's your pain level. I'll never forget the first time I went to the emergency room when I sneezed and I pulled a back muscle, and do you know what they sent me home with? Like 75 hydrocodone, 80 Soma. I mean, it was crazy.
Soma.
Yeah. Soma, I know. Shush.
My mom took them back in the day, and my dad drew all over her face one night. She had no idea.
Yeah. One time I took them and I fell asleep, and I was eating gummy bears when I did it. And I mean, they were prescribed. I wasn't just taking them. But the next morning I woke up and my cat was covered in gummy bears. It was one of those things. Yeah.
Do you separate your gummy bears by color?
Yes.
Of course you
I
do.
know that I do. I told you.
Do you eat them
Teresa.
in? Do you eat them in even numbers?
No, one at a time.
I eat them one at a time.
One
Just
at a time.
I like
And I
particular
save the
colors.
clear. Me too. And I save the clear ones for last because those are the pineapple and those are the best.
I hate the pineapple ones.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I don't like the orange ones. So you give me your pineapple and I'll give you the orange.
All right. I like the cherry ones, and now they have blue ones, and I like the blue ones.
Oh, the party hats.
Mm-hmm.
Those are I like those too. See how I did derail a serious conversation with nonsense like gummy bears and Soma?
It always ends up that way. Especially when Jen loses them.
Always.
Mm-hmm. I always separate them and eat them that way too. Yeah, but I mean, you have to eat them I feel like you have to eat them one at a time because then you like mix all the colors up and stuff. And
Exactly.
You
They
need
don't
the different flavors.
Right. If they wanted you to have all the flavors at once, they'd make them all the flavors at once. They make them separate flavors for a reason, Teresa.
I don't separate them.
I
Just take them by the handful.
Psychopath.
Psychopath.
She is a psychopath. I've been telling her for years because of this. Not for years, really. For
Well,
like
it was
2
about
months.
Skittles originally.
It was. It was.
Like you separate your Skittles by color so that you can eat them by flavor.
Don't people say that they're all the same flavor? I don't believe that.
They're not the same flavor, but I don't care. I don't care. I mix the colors. I'm a color mixer.
Live dangerously. I don't, now that I'm looking through the suspects, I don't think it was any of them. Like any of the ones that we lost LFT.
Who left? Oh yeah, I was gonna say who left.
I actually got to jump down though now, but thank you so much, Kate, for having me on, and thank you everyone else on panel. It's lovely discussing the case. This case is definitely one of the first ones that I fell in love with true crime over, because I remember like being in the supermarket and her face was everywhere. And it's just so crazy that this much time has passed and that we don't have any answers. But yeah, like we said earlier, I don't think it's ever going to be solved, but it's really interesting hearing everyone's thoughts and opinions. And thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming out.
Of course. Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays,
You too.
babe. Also, happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much. I'll be in chat and hanging out.
I'm concerned about what that girl said. I can't mix colors that makes them taste like Comet. I need to know how you know what Comet tastes like. Follow-ups.
I have to actually hop down. I have to hop down too. I have to go make Christmas cookies with my daughter.
Ooh, how fun. Don't
Bye,
mix the colors.
Teresa.
Oh, I know she won't let you.
Well, we're only making one kind of cookie, so
Okay, good. Good.
so good on you.
Well,
Have
Okay,
a good
thank you
Christmas.
so much for having me up, and thank you everybody for
coming.
all the kindness and all the nice words.
It was such a great panel. We have to do this more often. I
It
love
was
having
super fun.
everybody together.
It was super. We need to do this with the Idaho 4.
Oh yeah, I'm down.
It's time
for
to
that.
break that. It's time to break that case down.
Mm-hmm.
More.
Oh, I'm totally down for that.
Me too.
Well, let's plan it.
Okay.
Do it on somebody else's
That case is driving me insane. So
It's true.
I'm totally down. I'm totally down.
Yeah,
All right,
that-
I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much.
Bye, Teresa.
Bye, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Maybe she means tastes like Comet smells. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Captain. Yeah, I do that sometimes too. I'll smell stuff, and I think that there's a candy that tastes like the smell of pine salt to me. And it might be the
Really?
pineapple gummy bears. Now that I think about it, but like
I don't know.
it's or do they have white ones too?
No, just clear. They're the clear ones.
Maybe that's the one that reminds me of pine salt.
I mean,
I
I'm
don't
sure
know.
they do have. Maybe they do have white ones, but not like their original Haribo
Mhm.
Gold ones, which is the
That gross,
classic one.
definitely. I'm sorry, I
My
was
phone is
reading.
about to die too.
All right. Well, I mean, we can end it. We've been on here
Yeah,
for
we've
like
been on here for like 2
2 and a
hours
half hours.
Yeah.
Late.
And now I'm
It
just
was a
talking
great live,
nonsense.
Kate.
It was. You did a good job,
I
Kate.
know. I got nervous because I just like tagged everyone and I could think of, and then for some reason I thought it said that StreamYard could hold 12, So I'm like, oh my gosh, it only holds 10. And like everybody was like, yeah, I'll be there. Shit. But it worked out.
We could have taken turns. I would have gotten down and let somebody else have a turn if you needed me to.
Well, it worked out anyway because, you know, I think we could have all fit anyway because there was a couple of people that couldn't make it. I do think cilantro tastes like soap. I have the taste bud. Sorry, I got sidetracked by reading chat.
Oh yeah, cilantro is one of those. You either like it or you don't. There's no in between.
I have like a special taste bud that only certain people have that makes cilantro taste like soap. It tastes like Dawn soap to me.
I don't have that taste bud because I'm Mexican, I think maybe. I love cilantro.
Yeah. Yes, Melissa does too. She said cilantro absolutely tastes like soap.
See, it doesn't taste like soap to me, but I don't. One time my mom made me sit with soap in my mouth and it was ivory. And ever since then, ever since 1982, I can't stand the smell of ivory soap. It makes me sick every time I smell it. I'm like, oh, I can't.
My mom used to love her bathroom always smelled like ivory soap and Noxzema.
I could have handled ivory if I didn't have to eat it. I mean, she didn't make me swallow it or anything, but she did make me have it in my mouth. And let me just say,
I got it in my mouth too, Jen. You were a naughty girl too, huh?
Yeah, I was. Hello. It's like you don't even know me. It burns your mouth. After my mom made us have the ivory soap in our mouth, she gave us nectarines with dinner, and that shit burned. But ivory.
I got it right on the front teeth.
Yeah, my sister and I both are like can't stand ivory, but never lost our taste for nectarines, even though that burnt the shit out of our mouth.
All right, I'm really jumping down because it's gonna die.
Me too.
Merry Christmas, you guys. I'll be in chat.
Merry Christmas, Jen.
Merry Christmas. Thank you all for coming up.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me up. I'm going to leave so you can close your show and say bye to everybody. But thank you. And thank you for sharing what you shared. I appreciate that. Sharing out the, post for me and coming in last night. It was good to see you.
Yes.
You were there. Yeah, you were there last night. Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I was there.
I think I'm making things up in my brain. Together and I don't know, your face looked like I was saying something awkward. So then it made me just like, okay, good. All right. Well,
I was reading chat at the same time, so it was probably just my reaction to something in chat.
Well, thank you for having me up. Merry Christmas, babe. We'll have to do that Idaho 4 panel for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I need to get
do it again and have everybody up.
I need to get that off my chest. All right. Bye.
Bye. Ivory soap burnt my tongue. There's a lot of people who taste like soap. See, I'm not the only one. I thought I was crazy. Ginger? Okay, so I like ginger ale, and I like some things ginger, but I don't like ginger, if that makes sense. Like, for instance, I love sushi, and they put, like, little ginger things to, like, cleanse your palate, and if I even put that anywhere near my mouth, I want to throw the F up. That little, like, ginger slice. Ugh. It's so disgusting. It literally tastes like a pine saw strip on your tongue. Maybe that's where I'm thinking of the pine saw. I need to go do my poll. Oh, the poll, yeah. I think we got like 70-30. Hold up. 68-32 on the poll. And it's kind of late, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do what Parker did. I was gonna do the gift card, but like if I'm going to give out a gift card to a member of my channel. I'm going to put up like a community post and just comment on the community post. And then I'll do like a randomized thing and well, damn, Father Snugglenut. Why did you have to tell me that? I like wasabi. I put wasabi on all my pieces at least, so that makes me feel better, but I don't like the ginger. I don't really like ginger either. So much actually I eat it when I had morning sickness, and let's just say it did not help. Yeah, it reminds me of like cleaner. All I read was 0 gag reflex, and I haven't been single ever. Oh man. I've heard, sushi, I don't really like all sushi. I only like the crab one. It like the one that has crab in it. and avocado, and I knocked the cucumber out because I don't like that. And then it has like crunchy onions on top and like spicy mayo, and then like Asian barbecue sauce on it. Ugh. Thank you, Unsolved Mystery. Ivy is the only bar soap that floats. What does that mean? Eat your ginger, kids. So if I gave ginger... Yeah, I only like that kind of sushi. I know that's artificial crab. Whatever. I don't care. It still tastes good. I don't like the tuna one. I don't like the way tuna tastes. I tried it. I don't like it. Yeah, I'm not big on fish either. I think it's the one you're talking about, Jen. It's like it's a crunchy, spicy California roll. It's got like the fake crab and avocado. Whatever. That one's good. That's the only one I'll eat though. The rest are like, ugh. I don't know. I can't do raw fish. But I'm telling you, the fake crab one is banging. I even got my 7-year-old to try it, and he hates trying everything. He likes it, so. Volcano roll for life. What's that? I never heard of that one. Yeah. We need to do the Idaho 4 one, but somebody else host it so we can, like do this like maybe once a month, or we can all get together and then someone hosts it different every time. Like, how fun would that be? Like coming up with all these good ideas. We're doing it, y'all. A volcano roll is crab meat and other stuff. All right. Sushi, spicy tuna, crab. Oh, so it's like a mix. I don't like the way the tuna tastes. A crab meat like product. I basically like snacks and that's it. I eat like my parents are out of town. That's how like my kid tries to eat. It's terrible. I'm like, come on, man, you got to eat like food. People like making lunch for him is just a disaster. He doesn't like anything. The only thing it's either chicken salad he'll do for like the first half of the year, and then he wants the cheese and crackers Lunchable things for the rest of the year. Like, won't eat anything else. Yeah, who wants to do the next to host a panel? We got to do an Idaho 4 one. Keep the oysters, give me the beer. Yeah, that's what we need to do. Rotate case hosting. We'll do like once a month. We'll all get together and do a different case on different channels. Yeah. I mean, we could do that one sooner though, since Idaho 4 is like, popping right now. But I mean, like, that'd be fun to do like a rotating thing, because I just like getting all the different like opinions of all the true crime creators in one area. Thanks, Linda. Well, you let me know. I'll be there. I was going to show you guys Rosie again with her little hat, but she's sleeping. I don't want to bother. Yeah, I appreciate you all coming. It was such a good night. Sorry if I didn't really pay attention to the chat much. It was just like a lot going on, so I was trying, but if I miss anything, I apologize. Sounds good, guys. I like everything, but I don't like sushi. I ordered seared ahai, and they gave just regular raw ahai as my appetizer, so I ended up taking it home and cooking it, and it was good. I'm about to go buzz your mullet. All right, maybe I was being a little too judgmental there, but Boston Nick, I was planning to, but Dave took his whole computer apart. I don't know where he's at with it, but if it's somewhat together, then maybe, but I don't know. Yeah, so I saw the update with Athena. I'm confused though, like if the SA charges were added to like what happened with her, right? I'm guessing that's what it is. And then he also got 3 other charges, or are they separate? A black bean recipe. Who's bean recipe? Parmigiana garlic oysters. Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, I don't like it. See, it was all in the same area for her, so I was like, I feel like they would separate it if it wasn't for her, but I'm reading in articles that it's saying like 3 other charges about other people, so now I'm like, I don't really understand it, but I feel like it would be separated. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it was probably they meant that for her too, or else it would have been separated. I don't know. Oh, Father Snugglemat is a gourmet chef. Ooh. I love food. Yeah, I would think, I don't know. I would maybe there would be another, but like the list looked like it was all together. You know what I mean? Like those charges. Let me look it up real quick. Hold on. Before I go, we'll look it up and see what they say. It was weird. It was like prosecutors charge a FedEx driver who was arrested this month and accused of killing a 7-year-old girl with essay of a minor, jail records in Texas revealed. He had been booked into custody and charged with capital murder and aggravated kidnapping, and Wise County jail records now show he also faces 3 counts of essay on a child. It is not clear whether the new charges are related to the death of Athena Strand. I was reading that it wasn't and that it was. I don't know if he had priors, but there was a woman who was publicly accusing him of RAPE on Facebook. I know that. Yeah, right? I know, I'm starving. I've been eating cookies while I was muted. A chicken. Ooh. Yeah, so I don't. They seem to be confused too. Okay, here's another one. Texas FedEx driver accused of murdering 7-year-old girl faces unrelated essay charges. Essay assault of a child charges. In it, he was charged with 3 counts of essay of a child in a separate case this week. Sheriff Lane Atkin told Wise County Messenger that the new essay charges are unrelated to the murder case. I just have a hard time believing that. I don't know. It says it's unrelated, so I guess that's our answer. Yeah, late night food definitely hits better. Like after midnight, late night food. Let me see. Look up her autopsy, see if. I don't see, I don't see anything about an autopsy yet, so I don't know. You only eat at midnight or later? Are you a gremlin, Nick? Are you a gremlin? Or no, you're not supposed to feed them after midnight. I love those movies. I got really excited when I seen Jen Liu's opening like video because she had so many Gremlins clips in there, and I was like, yes. I love everything about that movie. I crack up every time I watch it, especially when they steal the like the plow truck and they're like laughing and like they drive through the guy's house. Hilarious. Or when they mess with the lady's chair and she flies through the window. And Jen Lu had all the clips. I was like, yes. I really like your opening video, Jen Lu. I'm not gonna lie, I got really excited over it. There were so many funny clips in it. Yeah, I don't see. Hold on. Not much details have been provided on her cause of death, as an autopsy is yet to be performed on her corpse. That was a while ago. I love Gremlins. It's my favorite when they're out caroling and they're all. You never saw Gremlins? Are you crazy, Melissa? That's like, it's one of the best Christmas movies ever. They're just so funny, like when they laugh, because they're doing all the fuck shit, and they're like, yeah, like laughing and just killing, like trying to kill people and shit. It's funny. Gizmo was a pimp. Especially when he wore the like little ninja like headpiece and he had the bow and arrow. I made my kid watch it with me, and I have a video of me with him when he was like 3 years old, and I'm like, come on, you want a gremlin? I'm like, aren't they cute? He's like, no, they not cute, mama, not cute. Oh no, dear. Well, you'll have to rewind because it was a good one. She said you have to see it. Melissa, there's gonna be a quiz. Yes, we need to have a Gremlins quiz. We need to quiz her so we know she looks like I'm binging Gremlins on my birthday. Yes. Yes, happy birthday again, Nick. Oh, and they put the one in the microwave. I like the one with the mohawk. What was his name? It wasn't Spike, it was... He was the bad one. Your youngest daughter said, Mom, these effects are terrible. Oh, no, I mean, it's a Christmas movie. Yeah. The whole beginning, they're in the snow. Stripe, that's it. And the lady has she's got the snowman thing, and then they go caroling, they get the snowplow. It's definitely Christmassy. He gets him as a Christmas present, doesn't he? He gets Gizmo as a Christmas present. There's lots of Christmas stuff in that movie for sure. I mean, I wouldn't say the main storyline is about Christmas, but it's featured around Christmas. You know what I mean? For an 80s movie, it was awesome. Yeah, Stripe is my favorite. The second one's not as good, but the girl one's kind of funny in the second one. Oh, the blender. Yeah. When they try and attack the mom. Yeah, that's a good one. Or when they're in the movie theater singing Hi Ho and they're all drunk. That's a good one. Yeah, it was definitely, I mean, it wasn't like centered around Christmas, but there was many Christmas themed stuff in it. So, oh yay. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna end it. Nick, I'll let you know if we're playing. I'll message you on Discord. Yeah, and they got crunked in the they were smoking cigarettes, all singing Hi Ho. Corey Feldman is dressed as a Christmas tree. Gizmo was a present. Yeah. Yep. You needed that cute little song. Oh, I love Goodfellas. That's a great movie. I could watch that over and over again, too. Thanks, Jen. All right, everyone. Have a Merry Christmas. I probably won't be back. Well, maybe I'll come on the 23rd. Try and get like a last live in. Thank you for coming up, Melissa, and everybody who came on panel and everyone who tuned in tonight. I appreciate it so much. Die Hard is absolutely a Christmas movie. Yes. Yeah, I might be back to 23rd, but if I'm not, it'll probably be after Christmas because, you know, I'm just going to get busy. I got all the wrapping and stuff to do, and because I wait till last minute to do everything, you know. All right. If I'm not back before Christmas, Merry Christmas, everyone. But I will be back between the new year. Yes, and everyone be safe in these crazy storms we're about to get. It's supposed to be like terrible conditions everywhere. So, oh, here. I'll let Rosie say goodbye. Say bye, Rosie. She's like, why are you waking me up, lady? I'm not going to put the Santa hat on her, though. I got to pick her up anyway. All right, night-night. Bye, guys. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. I was trying to convince my son to watch that today, and he wouldn't. Me too, just hung the outside lights. I feel you. All right, see you guys.